Welcome. How is everybody doing today? I don't know what he went live on, but I do have Twitch up. Don't have YouTube. Now live. Hey, welcome. Mute and pop out chat. Hello everyone on YouTube. I'm pulling your chat up now. Sunday fun day, that's right. It is absolutely a Sunday fun day. I'm getting the last of my tools, kitchen tools and stuff out. Are what I'm going for. Welcome everyone. Let's see. Ugh. I'm like going through my head on all the kitchen equipment that I'm gonna need, when honestly, you know what? We're gonna use the little guy today because I'm only making a single batch of this. We'll use the little man. Could probably use the regular burner. I have a literal list of kitchen equipment on the recipe, and I'm sitting here going, okay, what do I need? Go through each step in your head. What do you need? Ugh. I could probably bring the cooktop, the induction cooktop up to the front. And use that for the chicken and for everything else. We could probably do that. What do I feel like using today? I feel like I get more space. So here's my dilemma, friends. I've got chicken. I would usually cook it in this, but this is only a 10-inch skillet. And then I have this guy that I really just use for tortillas and pancakes. But we could cook chicken on it. It just might splatter a bit. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. We'll decide when it becomes time. Okay. I think that's good for the most part. Hi, welcome. It is Chicken Tikka Masala time.
Hello.
Hi.
Trinidad.
Oh, look at you with your own mic.
14 month, buddy. Hello, chat. How's audio? How's video? We looking good?
Big old bottle of olive oil. This is canola oil. I use a neutral high heat oil for
we don't make mistakes.
Anytime I'm marinating and then cooking something, I know I'm gonna want to like sear it a little bit, so I use a neutral oil.
CYF for the 57. Hello, Left and Carrie and chat. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Slept in.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and windy and sunny outside. Did some yard work. At least she did.
Yeah. Yeah, CG, if my pan is too small, yeah, it doesn't, you end up getting too much liquid in the pan and then it doesn't get the sear that you want. You can't crowd your pan, so I'd have to like do maybe 2 rounds of chicken instead of just like 1.
Mistakes.
But also it is the better pan for the job, so
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Hey,
Tier 3! Yeah, thanks for the extra hard-earned money.
Hey.
62 months.
Yeah, the hair's hairing. I got it.
The hair is hairing.
I got it re-dyed on Wednesday, and instead of doing a shadow root, which is what I've been typically doing, I just had them go all the way. So now I am wholly blue.
And short.
Yes.
great camera angle.
Here, we'll give myself an extra 1/4 inch if I stand up straight instead of slouching. Yes, chicken tikka.
It is so good. We get to eat this today, right?
Yeah. Do we bring any to
Bottle share?
bottle share, or do I just?
Let's keep it for ourselves, honestly.
Okay. I see.
Why do we gotta share everything?
I see you. I see you. Okay. All right. This is all for the second half. This is what I need for the first half.
Walk on your knees to be photogenic. How tall am I on my knees?
She's got them long legs. I technically have long legs too. I was told that I've always thought that I was like just proportional, but apparently I have a short torso and long legs, and I did not realize that. When you're 5'3", there's no such thing as telling someone that they have long legs, because like everything just feels like it's shorter, but it is what it is.
Propose. Oh,
Yeah.
you did that.
Yeah.
CG. So, do
Yeah.
I need to help out and hear it all, or am I good?
I do have a couple of things if you want.
Dang it. Well, I have other work I can do. but
No,
if you
I
need
know.
work,
Well,
no.
I just need. Can you rinse the rice and get it cooking?
Yes.
Because then it'll just stay warm until the end of stream,
You
and we
do
can
that
have it.
now or later?
You don't have to do it now. It might be easier if you do it now, and then you can just go like do what
Sure.
you want instead of interrupting yourself to do it. I do also have some naan in the back fridge if you want to go search for that. They'll be like maybe this big and nice and thin in a baggie.
Them out here.
No, they can. Honestly, you could probably just put them in a refrigerator or put them from one freezer into the next freezer so I have access to them. I'm just going to stick them in the oven and reheat them.
Cool. Bob Joe, what's up? Love some good chicken tikka masala. Got to see how yours is different. Last cooking stream in the house, we have one more cooking stream.
We have one more cooking stream. I'm doing a simple cooking stream next time. We're going to do pistachio snowball cookies. They're one of the most requested things. I bring cookies every year to an in-person event that we do in Orlando in July. And I figured now is the time to make cookies with everyone. So for the last one. I guess I can bring cookies. If we fly, I can bring cookies on a plane. They would let me. It'd be weird. But I could do it though. The move date is we're trying to move in the first week of June.
Or the last week of May.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you made an appointment in the middle of the first week of June that we have to be at the house for. Yeah, the last week in May apparently. Okay. I guess let's see, we've been up for about 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and I'll just do a quick roll call here. Is anybody who's cooking with me today? Do we have anybody here that's cooking with me today? I know a couple of people have said that they wanted to. Time to learn to ski? I'm not sure my knees can handle winter sports. Am I going to make a pie for the new neighbors? Probably not. I don't really like pie. Unless it's key lime pie. I like key lime pie. Twitch was slow for us to come up. Okay. I can give you guys a couple more minutes. Cooking along in spirit, that's fine. That's fine. 3. Because I was thinking that I could bring some with us to bottle share, but we can get rid of whatever we don't eat. Because there's already rice. There's rice in the refrigerator, but it's sushi rice. So it's seasoned, which might be weird.
I think I ate all right.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not the basmati rice. Yeah, it's a jasmine rice. So they're actually different races. Ice skating is at least I took Kate ice skating actually when I was there with her in March, and she had a really good time. Hashtag would do again. 10 out of 10. Ooh. Luke is trying to FaceTime me right now. You just got a KitchenAid stand mixer from the wedding registry. Nice. What's a good first recipe to break it in? Okay, it depends. Are you want to go all out and like really use it, or you just want to like use it once and like not a big deal? Like, what are you thinking?
That's how FaceTime looks like on your computer?
I guess.
That's funny.
Thank you. I like my hair too. He's just going to keep calling me until... If you take my phone, you can answer on my phone and talk to him there. There. Just answer it. Join. Oh. He moves the phone.
Hey, buddy. No, we're doing a stream right now.
Dealer's choice. I'm a novice baker, but good cook. I want to make you make cinnamon rolls. You could make marshmallows. That's a good, need a mixer to do. I have a recipe for a chocolate ganache swirled marshmallows, and actually we made them on a stream, so you could go back to the playlist and you can click on that and you can follow along. Yo, it's Luke. I'd probably suggest the marshmallows though. Then, if you like cook but you're not really into baking, so like dough can be a little like, what's it supposed to feel like? How's it supposed to do it? Like, I feel like marshmallows are a good medium between like to have a confection, right? To make a sweet, but it's not really baking, but it's also not really cooking. Yeah, the cinnamon rolls, because like brioche is like, if you want to put your mixer through the works, making brioche is it. And I do have, we did make cinnamon rolls on a live. We have a live with cinnamon rolls, so you can in fact do that as well. And essentially what you do is you would watch the first part, and then come back and the next day do the second part of the playlist of the live or the video. Hi, Archie.
Booyah! Thanks for 57 months. Welcome back to the stream. Almost.
Oh, that was wet.
5 years. I dried it off as much as I could.
Yeah. Okay, I do want to get started because we don't have a ton of time. I know some people are cooking with me, but I'm gonna go ahead and get going because I don't want to be too long.
We don't make mistakes.
That's the correct chat, right? Like I went to the live and popped it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no one's in it over there either.
Okay. Cooking with viewer this week was great. It was so nice of you to invite him back today. Oh. Yeah, that we had him with me.
Listen, punk. Listen, taco with a 44.
You've always wanted to make this? Cool. Yeah, this is a...
What's the difference between this and butter chicken?
Okay, so butter chicken is sweeter. I will talk about that while we're actually in a live because I haven't started yet. Like the actual video itself hasn't started yet, and I don't want to
rehash.
I don't want to have to rehash. Yeah.
Our stream baby's so old. That's right, Taco. Ratchical the 58 months of tier 3. Where you been, buddy?
Mistakes.
How much time to tune in anymore? I'd be damned if I turn off auto renewal. Wow. Thanks for hating
really nice.
Money.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Well, without subs, the stream wouldn't be here, so yay.
That's true.
Chibs with a 9. Full-term gestational period of a human fetus. Welcome back to the stream. Okay, I'm going to get out of Carrie's hair.
You slapped it right next to the mic.
Get out of Carrie's hair. And be behind the scenes the whole time,
We don't make mistakes.
working on
We
stuff.
have happy accidents.
B Woods with 27.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Are we ready?
We're
Let's
ready.
start. The new kitchen will be stream friendly, yes. And it's really pretty. And it actually matches. It's white and blue. So it matches the brand, which is great. Hi, possibly Ben. Welcome. This is, is there a way, honey, to make, I guess, you know what I have to do? I need to increase, I bet you if I increase this, I can't read the YouTube chat because it's too small. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Increase the browser text and increases the pop-out chat as well. Very nice. Yeah, it is exciting. Definitely exciting times. Okay, you ready to get started? Hi, and welcome to the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today we're going to be making chicken tikka masala. This is a fan favorite here at our house, and it was high time. It was high time to make it a recipe on the website, and the second that it was up on the website, I said I have to make it a cook-along. So I think it literally went up a couple weeks ago, and I just couldn't wait. Couldn't wait to share it. Couldn't wait to do a cook-along. So the literal next month, this month, actually, April, right? It became the cook-along. So it went up in March. Today is the cook-along. For anybody who is here with me live, this is a live stream. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. I hope you ask questions. I hope you learn. Some of you may be cooking along with me today. I'm very excited to have you. I promise I will stop and check in and see if you're along with me for the ride and everybody is up to speed. I chat a lot while I'm cooking, so even if you think, oh, she does this so often, she's gonna go so fast, I won't be able to keep up, I promise you will. Most of the time people are waiting for me because I like to gab and I like to nerd out. If you have found this video at a later date and it is no longer live and you found it on my YouTube channel as a playlist, I should have answered all of your questions as we go. Know that these cook-alongs are specifically meant to go through the entire length of the cooking process for a recipe. So nothing is measured, nothing is pre-cooked for the most part. And I basically go through step by step through each thing. So you can go look at the recipe, grab your ingredients, come back to the video, and you can essentially make it. And I will talk a lot about the ingredient choice, substitutions, and information as I go. If you have any questions other than maybe what I've said or what chat has asked me and I've responded to during the live, you can go ahead and put it in the comment section below the video, and I'm happy to check in with those and answer any questions if you are making it and you have something that you want answered. So let's get started. The first thing to do with your chicken tikka masala is start the chicken tikka. And so I've got some chicken here that I've defrosted. I actually had it in bulk, so I cut it down and froze it because I needed to have it ready for this. But I've got it essentially weighted out and packaged. So if you went to the store and you got your meat, you need about a pound to a pound and a half, which is roughly 450 to 700 grams of chicken, let's call it. And you are going to have that pre-packaged, take it home, and then what you can do is just trim it. If you have, I think I already did this. Looks like I did. I butterflied this chicken as well. So essentially what that means, I think it's all butterflied. Yeah, I've got tenderloin in here, and I've got some chicken breast that's been butterflied, so it's thinner than a normal chicken breast. Essentially what you're gonna do, if you wanna, I'll do a quick, this is how we butterfly, and I'm just gonna show you on one. It'll have like one random thin piece. Can I get the overhead cam? Por favor. Please. Oh, there, we're up. Okay, so I've got this boneless, skinless chicken breast piece. And essentially what you do to butterfly is you're gonna find kind of where your middle, right? So middle thickness here. And then you're gonna kind of just take your knife and go back and forth and pull your knife through, and then you've butterflied your chicken. And so now you've got two thinner pieces than your like big, essentially you get like, usually it's like really thick at one side and thin down at the bottom of your chicken breast. And then what happens is your chicken ends up cooking unevenly. So the back end of the chicken gets like rubbery and hard. And then you've got like a really nice, cooked through, perfectly cooked, top, or undercooked top when everything else is nicely done. And so butterflying your chicken and making them the same thicknesses helps with cooking. In this one, it also will help just because you're essentially making some kind of like chunks here. So we have pieces of chicken that essentially are going to get cooked on a grill top after they're being marinated. So we're just kind of prepping our chicken now. We're going to make the marinade and marinate the chicken, and then that's going to sit in the refrigerator while we do some other stuff like make the sauce. So I am now going to kind of cut this into what I would consider bite-sized pieces. Chicken will, like as it cooks, it will shrink up and kind of puff up a little bit. That's why a lot of times is you get a chicken breast and you start cooking it and you're like, oh, this is great. And then you flip it over and you've got like, the first part of it's cooked, you flip it over, and then suddenly you have this like kind of shrunken up, really like tall chicken piece, and you're like, what happened? Proteins will kind of shrink and pull into each other when they're cooked. The same thing happens with fish. If you ever are like cooking fish on a cooktop, you'll notice when you set it down that like all of the sides start to kind of pull in on it when it's cooking. Getting them the same thickness can be really tricky. Something else that you could do for this, it's not super necessary because like I said, you're cutting it into like these little chunks here and these bite-sized chunks. So it's not as important, but if you're working with something like a chicken parmesan or something like that, chicken parmigiana, or something where you are doing like chicken breast in a skillet and then there's like a sauce or like whatever situation you have going on, you're gonna wanna either, at the minimum, you're gonna wanna butterfly your chicken. You can also take it a step further and you can put it in a plastic bag. So like something like this that say like has a little Ziploc or something, and you don't need to close it if you don't want to, but you put like a piece in at a time, and then essentially you would take like a mallet. Let me pull mine out. There you go. So you take out a mallet that looks like this. A lot of the times they will also have this for tenderizing. But in general, this is probably the best just because it doesn't break the chicken apart as much. And you can beat the chicken down. It's a great way to get out stress. If you had a bad day, you take out some chicken, you pound it flat, and then that will definitely make it all the same thickness, because then you can kind of you can pound down the chicken, and as you go, you can adjust to what you want it to be. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you need to do. Chat, you guys never disappoint. Thank you for saying defrosted and not de-thawed. That's funny. No, it's thawed. It is thawed chicken that has been defrosted, de-thawed. That's cute. If it was de-thawed, then it would be frozen, no? Yeah. A very important distinction. You can purchase boneless, skinless chicken breast for this and then do the butterfly. If you don't want to do that, if you want to make it even easier on yourself, you can just purchase tenderloin. You can get like the skinless tenderloin. And then those are already going to be kind of the right thickness, and you just have to kind of chop them into pieces. So like say this is tenderloin. When you get a chicken breast, see, I wish I don't have one that was already done. So like I butterflied that one chicken breast, but typically the tenderloin will run along the side of it. Actually, it went this way. So this would be kind of the breast would come this way, and then you'll see this little piece of like fat. There's going to be like a little line where the tenderloin runs, and you would essentially cut down that, pull the tenderloin off, and then you would butterfly your chicken, and that's kind of how you would break down the boneless, skinless chicken breast that you buy. And you can purchase, if you wanted to cook in bulk, right? So you were like making this recipe, but you have like other chicken recipes you wanted to make, you could essentially purchase more than you needed. So if you purchased like 5 to 6 pounds of chicken breast, you could break down the breasts and the tenderloins, pull the tenderloin away from the breasts. The tenderloins would go specifically to this meal, and then the chicken breast could go to whatever else you wanted it to go to. So it's really up to you on how you want to do that. But you'd probably need about 6 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast to get enough tenderloin for this recipe. Otherwise, you can just buy the tenderloin, or you can just buy the chicken breast and you can cut it down however you need to cut it down. Okay, so I've got all my chicken here. And now I'm going to clean my hands and clean the surface because chicken is a no-no and nobody wants to get sick. It's going to be off screen for just a second. Don't rush hand washing, it's very important. Okay, let's do, I'm gonna wipe the surface down. No, I'm not. We don't have any wipe under the sink. Okay, let me. I'm fine, I swear. Okay. Okay, chicken is done. Let's start making the marinade for it. So the way that I make chicken tikka is I actually do a marinade in 2 parts. I'll start with the aromatics. So you're starting with your ginger and your garlic. And then I'll also do an acid. So we've got some lime juice, and then salt and oil. And I will let that sit for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then add the rest of the ingredients for the marinade, which include spices and some yogurt to kind of further break down the protein and bring in some of those other flavors. But what happens by putting in the stronger aromatics with the acid from the lime juice and the salt, you really get those flavors penetrating down into the meat, and you end up with a brighter, more flavorful bite of chicken when you're eating it. I think it holds up to the masala, masala sauce better when you marinate it that way. I've seen a number of recipes do it this way as well, so I'm not the only person on the internet doing it. But a lot of recipes, especially when you're using yogurt, will just throw everything into the yogurt. You throw the lime juice in, you throw the spices in, everything goes in. But then what happens is you don't get, like, the salt gets diluted, the acid gets diluted, and it just doesn't get into the protein as strongly if you add everything at once. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to kind of do like a half and then add the rest of it. And then those spices and everything can kind of go into the flavor when you're essentially cooking it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do, we've got our ginger and our garlic. Actually, let me pull out another cutting board here. Actually, we'll do this. Oh no! What are we stuck on? Nothing. I'm stuck on nothing. I just need to lift. Okay, so we'll pull out another cutting board. I'm gonna get another knife. Don't need it yet, but I will for this. And then I need a spoon. And I need this guy. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna need 4 cloves of fresh grated ginger, or garlic, sorry, 4 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna just do this to make sure I'm getting the right weight of everything. It's about 12.5 grams of garlic, depending on how you wanna do it. You can honestly, like, you can measure garlic with your heart. It's unnecessary. But 4 cloves is about the max. Not like a real clove. I don't know what that is. Like a real one. These are little guys. Okay, let's see. Does anybody have any questions so far? If anybody is cooking with me, are you with me? Okay, I'm gonna count this as like, we'll count that as like 4. If you're gonna weigh, actually I do need this. If you're gonna weigh, I would say to take the skin off first and weigh exactly what you're gonna be grating down. I do like to grate garlic for marinades more than like putting it through a garlic press or just mincing it. The finer the garlic is, the stronger, more pungent it's going to be. The more that the kind of like liquid and stuff that's in the garlic will come out and get into and flavor the meat. I will say, I do not have this. If you want to make this super fast and like absolutely save time, this Vitamix is the smallest blender that I have personally. But if you have one of those like little like NutriBullets or something like that, like one of the little like 1 cup smoothie kind of situations, I would fully tell you to just put all of the ingredients for the first half of this marinade into that and just blend it and then put that on the chicken. It will be finer. The flavors will be melded together better than anything that I could do by hand. I just do not have a small enough blender for that, so I have to do it this way unless I'm like tripling the recipe. If I'm tripling the recipe, I've got enough stuff to put in the bottom of the blender that it won't go under the blades, but I don't have a small blender. If you have a small blender, just skip all of this and just toss everything into a blender, blend it, and then mix it with the chicken and call it a day. But I have to do it by hand. So if you are also doing it by hand, what you're going to do is you're going to have your garlic kind of I know it's on its side, but anything that's like kind of flat, if you have it like this, it's going to move around too much. But you want to have it just like stable enough, right? You're going to take a chef's knife or a knife that's got a really thick blade, and then you're going to just smash down with your palm of your hand, and that will help you take this off in like a second. Okay, and then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to trim off this bottom dried out piece here. That's no longer part of what I'm going to be doing. Okay, same thing. So I'm going to put him probably on his middle here. Give it a little beat down. This is a great recipe. Again, garlic is also a great, hey, you got some aggression? A little frustrated? Take it out on your garlic. All right, last one. Somebody asked, how do I measure garlic if I don't have a heart? Measure with your stomach. I know you have one of those. I've eaten with you. I know you have one of those. I say someone. It's a friend of mine. I'm just not saying the name out loud. Yeah, the more you break garlic down, the stronger flavor you get. This is probably like, tossing in like some cloves of garlic, just some where you take the skin off and let it like steep in something. You'll get a nice subtle like garlic flavor. If you really give it a good smash and you break all of the insides down like all the way, this one's probably a pretty good smash. And you have most of your garlic like smashed down kind of like this, then that's going to be a little bit stronger of a flavor. Once you start cutting into it, it will get even stronger, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. This will be the most pungent version that you can get. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm just putting it on a microplane. If you're using a box grater, you're going to go for the smallest side. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm grating the garlic through here. You can also fine mince it if you really want to. I guess I can probably demonstrate a little bit. I'll demonstrate with some of the larger pieces that are left from grating. You can mince it down and then use the side of your blade on your chef knife to push it into a paste. And we can get to that. Okay, I've got a little pile here of garlic that makes me nervous to grate when my fingers get too close to the grater. So I will give that a fine mince, and then I'll show you guys what I was talking about. If you don't have a grater or a microplane like this, Microplane is the name brand. I don't know what these would be called. Fine zesters or fine graters. Okay. It comes out to about a tablespoon, I believe, of garlic. Okay, we're gonna toss that in. So here's what I have left over. The thing I don't like how sticky your fingers get with garlic. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, what you're gonna do is you're going to have your garlic. So say you've already kind of put it into whatchamacallits, like you've already kind of like minced it, and you've got what your end result is or what you're happy with on your size. And you can kind of have control over your garlic. It's literally sticking to me. Okay, so say we've got a little bit of a mince going here, right? But I want it to be the same texture as the grated stuff. What you're going to do is you're going to have it all kind of lined up, and you're going to take your blade and you're going to push down on your garlic like this. And kind of just go at an angle and sweep like this. And this is essentially crushing it. So you've minced it, and now you're kind of crushing it into a paste. And now you have your garlic paste that will also go in. Oop. A little bit stuck to my fingers. There we go. I'm going to rinse my hands real quick. I'm sticky. I should wash my hands. I'm technically allergic to fresh garlic, and I'm wearing contacts right now, so I need to make sure that I don't touch my eyes because I'm so used to adjusting my glasses. I might actually touch my face, so we have to be careful. Yeah, if you want, I mean, you can use a garlic press. It's not gonna give you this as fine. I guess I could have done that. I can still do that. I can use a garlic press so you guys can see the difference. We can just do this little guy. Okay, so smashed garlic. I'll add this guy in too. So I have this guy. This is my garlic press that I use. The company, I'm sure you guys have seen these around, is like, you're like, oh, that looks too modern or whatever. This is actually the best garlic press that I have used. I don't use it very often just because most of the time I roast my garlic and blend it, and then I will use pucks of roasted garlic. I can't have roasted garlic. It's the fresh garlic I have to stay away from. Garlic presses, because it's like 2 parts, right? And you kind of press it through the way that you would use a potato ricer. It gets stuck in there, and you can't always get it out. So sometimes you've got stuff that doesn't go all the way, get pressed all the way through the holes. You get a membrane that's kind of always stuck in there, and you have to kind of reach in and clean it out and whatever, and it's just annoying. So I have a single, and it's a rocker. You just kind of press and go like that, and press through. And then you would essentially scrape it and do it again. And you keep pressing until you have what you're happy with. You also, if you're using a couple cloves of garlic, this goes a lot faster. And is comes out easier. But I can essentially have a toothpick and just kind of go through this, and it goes pretty quickly. This was a really small piece of garlic. But essentially I would just kind of keep rocking over the garlic, and it will smush it and get it to where you want it to be. The problem is that it's still pretty big pieces comparatively. So if you wanted to, here, let's see if I can, it gets to about the size of minced garlic, right? So if you're going for a grated garlic or a crushed garlic, some kind of paste, it's not gonna take you all the way there to use a garlic press. I would say to use the garlic press and then go ahead and do that kind of crushing motion with your knife to get it to where you want it to be. I would say to do that. So here's my little piece of garlic here. And then I'll finish crushing that. Wash my hands again. But now you know that you can use a garlic press, but it's not gonna get you all the way to a paste. Now we have a paste. Yeah, I didn't know that, Arden. I've done that. I'm allergic to peppers as well. I think I was cutting us up a serrano, and I went like this and got the capsaicin or whatever all the way up my sinuses, and I just hunkered down I sat down on the floor with my back against a cabinet and just for 45 minutes just let whatever. And I had washed my hands. I washed my hands with soap and water. I thought I was in the clear. No, I was not. That was a very painful moment for me. Okay, so now I've got my garlic done. We're gonna move on to ginger. Okay, and I need about a teaspoon, which is about 5.5 grams of fresh ginger. I do have some fresh ginger here with me today. I'm going to peel this ginger, and then I'm going to grate it with the same microplane fine zester, fine grater, whatever we're calling it. If you want to make quick work of peeling ginger, I know sometimes they can have a bunch of knobs and stuff, and it gets really hard to peel. And don't use a peeler, just use a spoon. So if you take a spoon and you go on the edge of the spoon and just rub it down the side of your ginger, You can easy peel it. And it looks like the top of this isn't super healthy, so I'm gonna work my way a little further back. We'll cut the end of this off and then grate the healthy parts. Cool. So I need, like I said, I need about a teaspoon, about 5.5 grams. Ginger does always have the weirdest shapes. And I will say this, okay, proper etiquette. There is etiquette that you need to follow when you go to a grocery store, okay? Don't buy the ginger if you don't want to deal with all of the knobs on it. Do not break knobs off of ginger and take only what you want. That's not how you buy ginger in a store. Every time you break one of the knobs off of a piece of ginger, it dries out from where the break is, and then it gets gross in the store, and those poor people have to try to sell it. It is not, that is just grab the one that looks like it's how much you need, or looks like it's the freshest piece or whatever, and you get the whole thing. Don't be in the store breaking off what you need. Don't do it. Use proper etiquette, please. Because then it dries out so fast, like so fast. It's me. Okay, that's about what I want. We'll make sure we have enough. We'll weigh it. Yep, look at that, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna set my ginger aside because I'm gonna need more of that later. And then I'm going to do some lime juice. Okay, take your lime. You're gonna give it a little bit of a press down. Again, this is such good aggression here. Good aggression on a recipe. I like it. You're gonna give it a roll just to kind of get some of the the cells and the little pieces of pulp kind of bursting out, so that it'll be juicier for you when you go to juice it. You can also, if you have limes that are really hard, like say it's off season or something like that, because right now citrus is in season, but come October or something like that, when you get like all of the citrus is like really small and they're kind of like underripe and all that kind of stuff, you can put them in the microwave for about 10 minutes. Oh my God. Put it in the microwave for about 10 seconds, and that will, the heat will also help to break down some of those barriers and bring some of the juice to the forefront, and it'll make it easier to squeeze, and you will get more juice out of it. Probably not a lot more juice, but you'll get more than you would have if you had tried to juice them when they were hard. So definitely like 10 seconds in the microwave, and then just do that same kind of press and rolling motion, and then you should have enough. Okay, so this needs about 15 milliliters, 1 tablespoon of fresh lime juice. Okay, and then I'm gonna need 2.5 grams, give or take, of kosher salt. I'm just weighing it, which how much is that? That's 453. I can do math. There you go. Okay. And now I'm going to need about a tablespoon or 15 milliliters of a neutral oil. I'm using canola oil. You can also use vegetable oil. If you wanted to, you could probably also do like a safflower oil or a grapeseed oil. I wouldn't recommend olive oil unless you have like a relatively neutral olive oil. You could. It just adds extra flavor there that you really don't need. The same thing with like a peanut oil. Like it's maybe a good thing if you were doing a butter chicken, because sometimes peanuts can be in butter chicken, but not in a tikka masala. So like peanut would be like a weird kind of flavor to have in there. Okay, and then I'm just giving that a nice mix. And then I'm going to cover this. Actually, one little more. There we go. I'm going to cover it with some cling wrap and stick it back in the refrigerator. Okay. And basically what I'm going to do for this, if you wanted to, you could just cover the top, but I'm going to actually press down to the very top to just make sure that we've got all of the marinade even touching the top of the chicken and like really press down in there. Okay, so that's my chicken. I'll put that in here. Set that aside. Okay, so let's see. Let's do the second half of the marinade now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the rest of the ingredients together in a small bowl, and then those are gonna get added to the chicken in about 30 minutes. Let's do, I say small bowl, but just to be safe, we'll use this guy. Okay, so we are going to need about a quarter cup. It's somewhere between, it's about 65 grams, give or take, of whole milk yogurt. You don't have to use whole milk yogurt. I know it's kind of hard sometimes to find whole milk yogurt, which makes me a little frustrated. A lot of the time it's like fat-free yogurt or skim or something like that. I prefer whole milk yogurt. It's just creamier, it's denser, less liquidy, all around just better for literally any cooking for the most part that I do. You can use, this is just a whole milk yogurt. You can also do a whole milk Greek yogurt, which is thicker, or a labna, which is even thicker than that. Essentially, it's just like they're basically taking a whole milk yogurt like this and they're straining liquid out of it to different consistencies. And so that's kind of the order, right? Is you have a whole milk regular yogurt, and then you have your Greek yogurt, and then you have your labna, which is even thicker. And you can kind of decide what you want on this. It's really not super important. This is really supposed to be part of the marinade. It's not like creating the viscosity or the thickness of your final resulting sauce or anything like that. So it's not really, really important to your end result. You can get whichever yogurt you want, as long as it is plain. Okay, plain yogurt. Don't be using strawberry yogurt. That would be weird. That'd be very weird. Okay, so I'm gonna just measure it out by grams because that is easier than putting it into a measuring cup and then trying to figure that one out. Okay. No vanilla yogurt either. Don't do that. Oh, that'd be so weird. Okay, we also need more oil. So the reason that I used only a small amount of oil in the first half of the marinade was, again, I don't want to dilute the flavors that we put in there. I want just enough that it carries all of the flavors around and gets it kind of like touching all of the surface area of the chicken. If I add too much oil or too many other ingredients, then it's going to dilute the flavor. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm adding essentially the rest of the oil. So I only have 1 tablespoon, the 15 milliliters that we put into the first part of the marinade. Now I'm adding the rest of the oil that's going to be needed for the marinade, and then for cooking is kind of going into the second half of the marinade. And that will get mixed in after we get a good amount of time with the first portion of the marinade. So now we're going to be doing the rest of the oil, and we're going to be doing 3 tablespoons. Essentially, you end up with about a 1/4 cup of oil when you get to it, but we kind of split it up. We divided it. Okay. And then I'm going to use some ground spices. We will use whole spices when we go to make the sauce, but for this we're going to be using ground spices just so that when you do go to cook the chicken, because you don't like rinse the chicken off, sometimes a whole spice, when you are like, eating something, when you hit a whole spice and you pop just that one, it kind of is a little overwhelming. So I'll use ground spices in the marinade, but we do use whole spices in the sauce because the sauce gets blended. So we'll toast whole spices, make the sauce, and then the sauce does get blended, so those kind of get broken down later. But we'll go ahead and go forward with this. I'm going to need about 1.2 grams of ground cumin, which is about 1/2 teaspoon. And I am going to use my spoons today. Let's see. So I've got some ground cumin here. I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon. Again, I said that was 1.2 grams. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of ground coriander, which is about 0.8 grams. So just under 1. And then I'm going to do some grated nutmeg. If you have ground nutmeg, that's fine. I'm just going to fresh grate it into there. And then we also need about 1 teaspoon of some sweet paprika. Okay. Which is about 2.5 grams. And then I'm also going to need some ground black pepper. I'll do the nutmeg last. I like to keep whole spices in my house, and then I will grate them or blend them in like a spice grinder as I need them, just so that the flavors stay fresher longer. Spices, especially ground spices, will lose their flavor the longer that they are just kind of sitting and not being used. You can kind of revamp, I don't know if that's a good word. You can kind of get the flavoring in the spices kind of back a little bit stronger if you toast them or heat them, because it's going to bring the oils and the spices back to the surface and kind of reinvigorate them. So that it is something that you could do if you were using like ground spices that have kind of been sitting in your house. They just may not be as pungent depending on how long they're there. I don't recommend having ground spices sit for longer than like 3 to 6 months. Definitely that 6-month mark. Like at that point, they're not going to be as strong, and you may need to use more to get the same flavor that you would have when they were fresh. The highly controversial take. I don't know if there is a controversial take on chicken tikka versus the chicken tikka masala versus butter chicken. They're actually 2 different dishes. Some restaurants will label them differently and actually talk like how if they have like what's in this and like a little bit of a description under not a recipe, under a meal, under a dish in a restaurant. Like it might actually say like the difference. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes They just make one thing and call it both. But they're actually two different things. So tikka masala, chicken tikka masala, first of all, chicken tikka is just essentially small pieces of chicken that are cooked in like a tandoor oven. The masala part of that is essentially a blend of spices into a sauce. And so a lot of the times, masalas, right? Masalas will have like a garam masala in it, but that's really, again, like a combination of spices because masala is just like a spice blend. And so I technically have all the ingredients for garam masala in this, but I don't list garam masala. That is an actual ingredient you can purchase in a store, but that spice blend is whatever the label decides they're going to have the spice blend be, and I wanted this to be more consistent. So I kind of pulled out individual ingredients and gave you weights and measurements for consistency purposes. Instead of telling you to use garam masala, because one store's garam masala is different than that one, is different than maybe a family blend if you have a family blend. And so this way it's just kind of easier to like use the individual spices. But essentially it is a spiced tomato and onion sauce is what's going into the masala sauce for chicken tikka masala, and then the chicken pieces are usually cooked in an oven. You can cook them on a skewer. There's actually a million ways to cook the chicken, and we can talk about that when we go to cook the chicken. But essentially it's like you're doing kind of a marinade and cooking chicken, grilling chicken, and then you also have your sauce separately. Butter chicken, there's a lot of different ways. Like butter chicken isn't necessarily cooked the same way that the chicken tikka would be cooked. It can be cooked in the sauce. It can be cooked in the same way that you would cook the chicken tikka and have it cooked like grilled or in a tandoor oven and then moved to the sauce. But the sauce specifically for butter chicken is sweet. It uses more butter. It uses more sugar. It has less spice in it. And it also sometimes will have nuts in it. So a lot of the times you will put cashews and blend cashews into the sauce as well for an extra nuttiness, extra sweetness, and it helps to thicken it. So like I just touched the mic, I'm very sorry. In a tikka masala, or a chicken tikka masala, we would use the heavy cream to thin out and like make the end sauce nice and creamy and give it like a nice richness and thickness. You use the cream for that. And then in a butter chicken, you would either use more cream than would be in a tikka masala, or you would also use the nuts to add a little bit of that creaminess without having to add in the heavy whipping cream. And again, like I feel like there ends up being a range just because everything is made so many different ways, and a lot of dishes, especially when it comes to like your spice blends and stuff like that, it's really like whatever you choose, whatever you like. But typically tikka masala is more savory and more spiced, and the butter chicken is a sweeter and has like far more butter in it than the tikka masala does. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's the difference in theory. Back to our ground black pepper here. I need to have, I don't even know how much I need anymore. I need 1/4 of a teaspoon, which is about 1/2 gram. Let's see. They are two different dishes. We're gonna need more of this later. And then I said nutmeg. Nutmeg is one of those things that's like really hard to measure. I should have washed this. Nutmeg is really hard to measure just because it ends up being so light. And a lot of scales will only start under, or like once you go over a certain amount of grams. So that can be kind of frustrating, but. I also prefer tangy over sweet. So yeah, so the tikka masala is like my choice. Like if I see both butter chicken and tikka masala on a menu, I'm choosing the tikka masala over the butter chicken. I personally prefer other things on Indian at Indian restaurants. I would prefer to get like other things than just like a tikka masala. But if I was gonna choose between the two, I would choose the tikka masala over the butter chicken. Me with years old spices. Yeah, you need to update your spices. I still have Old Bay from 8 years ago. Whoa, and it's a spice blend too. That's not going to be as pungent, my friend. Okay. Let's do some nutmeg. Let's see. How much do I actually need of this? 1/4 teaspoon. Yeah, it's only 0.2 grams. So we're just gonna like to whatever my heart wants. I'm just gonna eyeball this. There we go. Good enough. Okay, so this is everything that we need. I'm gonna give this a whisk and set it aside, and we're gonna actually put it on. I'm gonna start prepping for the sauce, and then we're gonna put this into the chicken in just a little bit. Give it just a little bit more time. And it is gonna look gross because it's got so much oil in it. It's never gonna emulsify the way that you think it will. So just, it's okay. No one's judging anybody. You just wanna make sure that all the spices are mixed in well. Okay, I'm setting that off to the side. And then I'm gonna start prepping all of the stuff that I'm going to need for my sauce. Grab a plate. Okay, so you need 2 to 3 medium tomatoes. You're looking for somewhere between 275 and 300 grams worth of tomato. You can use a number of different tomatoes. I have some tomatoes on the vine. Roma tomatoes are also very good for this. They have a lot of flavor. If you have heirloom tomatoes you can get your hands on, even better. If you're growing tomatoes in your garden, go for it. This is a really simple sauce. Like making the sauce is a super simple thing to do. You can, depending on the size of your tomatoes, you can either cut them in quarters or you can cut them in 6, something kind of like that. You do not need to get anything down into really small pieces because, again, we are going to be blending all of this. It will become a sauce when it's in the blender. So you don't need to worry about having everything diced down into really small pieces or any of that kind of stuff right up front, which makes this really nice. Okay, I'm also gonna need a medium sweet onion. Okay, something I wanted to talk about because we had a conversation about this the other day. This is a medium onion. This is a large onion. I know that when you're looking at it, it makes sense, but when you're in the store and you're like, I don't know what I'm going for, I wish that I had a small onion. Small onions are probably about the size of this tomato, actually. Let me grab another tomato. So like, I would say this is the size of a small onion, this is the size of a medium onion, and then this would be the size that you're looking for with a large onion. Once you've got all of the skin off and you've trimmed it and you got it to the size that you want, there's homemade naan in the bag. Grab that. Once you've got it trimmed down to the size that you want, you're gonna end up with about 200 to 215 grams, give or take, of onion. That's how much weight you want for this recipe. This guy is like, let's see, this guy's like 300 and change. Like, there's no way No, 400. This is 471 grams. Like, you need less than half of this guy for this recipe. So, because I was having some conversation. I think it was during one of my Patreon Discord chats, and we were like, what is a medium onion like when you're in the store? And so I thought to myself, today is a good day to bring it up and help people out. Yes. Is there only one in there? Okay, that's fine. No, I meant like only how many pieces are in the bag? 2 or 3? Okay. The really nice thing about having contacts is that onions don't bother your eyes when you have contacts on. It's like you have goggles over your eyeballs without wearing goggles. It's great. I didn't realize how affected by onion you could get when I was younger because I wore contacts all day, every day. And until I stopped wearing contacts and started like mainly wearing glasses, I was unaware of how bad it feels to have all of the sulfur compounds from onions hit your little eyeballs that are not protected. Are we roasting these? No, we are not really roasting them. We're more kind of sauteing them in a Dutch oven, the one that's behind me, if you can see it. We're basically just putting them in and we're letting them cook down a little bit, and then they're getting blended. We're not going to be roasting them. You don't have onions that big over here? Good, because you really don't need it. Like that's an insanely large onion. Is that why I'm immune to onions? Yeah, it's because you have contacts in. Something you can do if you are chopping onions, the best thing that you can do is to have a really sharp knife. Essentially, the reason that you're getting all of those sulfuric compounds, every time you crush the cell of an onion or break through the cell of an onion, those sulfuric compounds are going to be released, and that is what's hitting your eyes, and it's what's making your eyes water and giving you a hard time. So some of the things you can do is you can have a super sharp knife, because if you have a sharp knife, you're going to be easily slicing through less number of cells than if you were crushing through an onion because your knives are not sharp. So keep your knives sharp. I would also say if you kept a wet paper towel, I do this a lot actually. Actually, the next best thing to do is, if you don't have contacts in, is to go underneath a fan. If you have a fan under your hood or something like that, like a hood fan for your stovetop or underneath your microwave or whatever that looks like, and go right underneath the fan and turn the fan on and let that carry the fumes up and away from your face. That's a good call. If you have a wet paper towel, it's a good idea to wipe down your kind of surface as you go. So like cut a bunch of it, like cut one half of it or something, and then give it a nice little wipe, move it aside, keep cutting, like move aside what you've cut, wipe down your board, wipe down your blade, and just kind of keep as much of the liquid from the onion, from cutting through the onion, off of your surface and your blade as possible. And then also you can kind of put your wet paper towel on top of the onions that you've cut, so those aren't also releasing that. Now, for this, it's not too bad because this is literally all that you have to do. I'm sitting here giving you guys all of this information about how to be better with the onions and whatnot. And actually, let me get another plate. All you need to do is essentially cut and do this. And that's all the cutting you need to do. We're not fine dicing. We're not mincing. We're not doing strips or any of that kind of stuff. You're essentially cutting it into fourths and then eighths, and then that's done. But I will still cover them. Oop, we lost a few. I will still cover them, and I will still wipe down my board, wipe down my knife, And now they are being set aside. Chicken time. I'm gonna take my chicken out of the refrigerator. And I'm gonna add in the second half of the marinade. For anybody who's cooking with me today, I hope you are following along okay. If you have any questions, please ask them in either chat. In the UK, that medium onion would just be a normal onion. Perfect. Because that's the size that you need. Like, it's so, like, things in the United States sometimes are just, like, much larger than they need to be. And I just want to make sure that, like, because you can say, like, a 1 medium onion, but what does that mean? You know? What does 1 medium onion mean? Now you have a visual comparison. I try to add, like, weight in grams as much as possible, so that people can have something be consistent and not just go to the store and get what they think is a medium onion and it be like a large onion or a small onion or whatever that is. Or just when someone says like 1 onion, I'm like, cool, what does that mean? Oh, there you go. You do like a rough chop. When you make a bolognese, you do a rough chop of onions, carrot, and celery. And then you put them into a food processor for like a little bit of a sofrito. Yeah, that's a great, we do that. We do that in my family for soups and stuff like that. It's such a good, like a quick way to handle that. Okay, so I've got the rest of everything in. We're gonna let that sit again. Wash my hands. And I'm going to let that sit until it's time to cook it. I would usually say a minimum of an hour. But if you can go longer, that's even better. Let's see what I have in the recipe. We'll see how many hours I say you can go up to. Up to 6 hours. Okay, so this is going back in. Actually, let me cover this again. It's going back into the refrigerator. Guys, I lost the wrap. Oh, there it is. It's going back into the refrigerator for at least an hour, up to 6 hours. Get your chicken nice and tender. Okay. Okay, back to our sauce. So we've got our tomatoes prepped and we have our onions prepped. Now we're going to be doing the rest of the aromatics. So again, you're putting in garlic, you're putting in ginger. I have in here fresh grated. I don't think you really need to fresh grate your garlic. I think honestly, if you just give it a nice smash, like a thorough smash, you're probably going to be in a good place. Because again, everything is going to end up being blended. I need 3 cloves for this. I need some small cloves in this. I'm going to do, we'll do 4. 4 smallish cloves of garlic. And I'm just going to give these a good smash. I am going to start putting stuff into small bowls. If you want to have like some little plates or something like that, you are welcome to do that. I like to kind of set things up so that I have them on their individual, like kind of at what point are you adding it? And then have them kind of set up separately so that as you add, you can kind of just pick up and dump and go and have like a very like mise en place, like everything in its place, ready to go right when you start cooking. A lot of the times when you're doing stuff like sauces, soups, and stews, it's a good idea to have your ingredients out and ready so that, because everything seems to work faster than you expect it to. I know like it took no time to kind of chop these up and have them ready, but like once you have your spices toasting in like a hot oil, and that you kind of almost immediately have to have stuff ready to cool things off or they start to burn, and we don't want that to happen. So it's a good idea just to kind of go through all of the ingredients, have everything ready to go. You can read through instructions for when it says to add things. And I will also do that here today. But if you go through the recipe, like read the instructions for it when it says to add things. I do try in my recipe instructions to say like all of these things get added at this time, all of these things get added in this time, so you can group them appropriately. But right now I'm going to do the garlic and the ginger in one bowl. So let's do our garlic. I am going to grate the ginger just because I don't want those membranes, all the fibers that are in the ginger to be in my sauce. If you don't have I have a very powerful blender, so it'll break that down and it won't be like, you won't taste it or anything like that. It won't be a textural problem. But if you don't have a powered blender, like a really strong one, that could be a problem. Like if you're using like an immersion blender, like a stick blender, that could be something that you want to have like these things grated out to make sure that they really get blended down enough in your sauce that you're not like randomly coming across a big piece of ginger or garlic or anything like that. Get this out. But the ginger in general, I prefer to grate just because then you're really getting the meat of the ginger, and the weight isn't also the weight or the volume that it's containing. The fibers aren't getting included in that because the fibers are just like, they're not going to carry any of the flavor or any of the other stuff. So we've got our ginger here. I do need more ginger for this than I did for the marinade. Let's see, how much did I say that I wanted? A half of a tablespoon. Okay, so we only needed a teaspoon last time. Now we need a half a tablespoon. So we're gonna have quite a bit. I'm probably gonna get down this and then start also doing the top of this guy. So let's start that now. I need about 8.5 grams, I think. Is that what I read? Let's see. Yes, 8.5 grams. Yeah, that's the beauty of this dish is it really doesn't have to cook. Like after you have everything blended, you've kind of done like the initial cooking process, sweating down all of the vegetables, getting the spices toasted. Once you have it blended, you really don't have to cook it longer than another 30 minutes or so to really have those flavors mix well with each other. But for something like a ragu where you're like cooking out fat, like you're rendering the fat from the meat, and that has to take a long time to cook, and you really want all of these individual flavors from vegetables that are fibrous and really need to cook down to like melt into the sauce, into the stew or whatever that you're making, then yeah, like a lot of extra cook time is a really good idea. That also is the case when it comes to gumbo, because you have to cook the flour flavor out of the roux out, and it takes like 4 to 6 hours to do it. Chili, same way. Like you want to cook it for a couple of hours at least to get all of that meat and like chili. I guess I use like a chili paste when I do chili, but like to cook all of that out and have all of those flavors kind of come together can be a lot. Yeah, it's so funny. So I've been doing some recipe development with fresh garlic over the last 2 weeks, and I had the other 4 cloves of garlic I pulled out of that bag were all made of like really big cloves, and I opened this one, there were all these teeny tiny things. I'm like, hold on a second here. I do have the weight in grams again for the garlic. So if you don't want to go strictly by the number of cloves and you want to have the correct amount, you can go by weight. And I know I'm like down here. I have a garbage can. I'm just working over a garbage can. I just realized it looks like I'm doing. You're like, what is she doing behind that counter? I'm actually peeling the ginger over a garbage. That's what I'm doing. Again, with the side of your spoon, I'm just kind of here. We'll do this here for now. And I'm just kind of prepping. I like looked up and I was at like I looked over at the time that I was doing it and I was like, that looks kind of weird. Can't really tell what I'm up to. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna keep going. Yeah, ginger is the same. So pretty much any aromatic, right? And ginger is the same as like a garlic is going to be. Is the finer that you are getting the structure of your like ginger or your garlic, the more pungent it's going to be. If you're doing something like, say you want ginger and tea, you can just have like sliced pieces, like slice on the bias, just pieces of ginger, and you can put that in there and let that steep. But if you want it to be super, super strong, you would do something like a grated ginger and put it in. That will get it like super pungent, super fast. But it all depends on like application. Because then like if you are cutting like a slice of ginger, you can also just kind of fish it out of whatever you were steeping it in. Whereas if you were doing this and you're grating it down, you're going to have to like get a fine mesh strainer underneath it and like strain the pieces of ginger out. Otherwise, you're going to be getting like pieces of ginger in your tea. Is not the best. Okay, that looks like that's probably enough. Let's get my scale. We'll see how much we have. It almost looks like too much, but that's okay. Let's see. I said 8.5 grams. Whoop, that's already, there we go. I did too much. Okay, well, if at any point in the future I feel like doing something with more ginger, I can. There we go. Maybe I'll make a syrup or something. Okay, so there's my ginger. I am going to give this a really good smash. I think I mentioned that earlier, and this is totally going to start jumping around on me if I do it with it on the board. Okay. I'm basically smashing them flat, and that should be good enough. Okay. So now I've got my ginger and my garlic. Your mom cuts ginger and just scoops it up after the curry gets its flavor. Yeah. Yep. It's honestly really, it's just like if you were going to do like a sachet or do a kind of like bundle of herbs and spices that you like throw into soup or stock or something like that. It's basically the same concept. This is like if you, or like even like bay leaves, right? If you can toss them in and they're a large enough piece, then you can take them out before you blend it or before you do whatever you want with it. And then you don't have to worry about having all of that stuff in there. It just makes it easier the larger that it is. You just have to end up using more to get the same flavor than if you were gonna grate it, but then it makes it easier to take out. So #worth, right? Okay, so let's see. We've got our ginger and our garlic. We're gonna start moving into our spices at this point. So I've got some whole cumin seeds, which I actually have over here because now we're working on, let's do this. I'm gonna move this out of the way and bring this stuff over because this is now what I need for the rest of the sauce. So I've got cumin seeds. If you have, I'm gonna say this as loudly and clearly as I possibly, not loudly, as clearly as I possibly can. If you have an Asian market, a Middle Eastern market, an Indian market, a Mexican market, whatever, if you have a market that is not a grocery store, that has all those tiny bottles of spices, please go there and get your spices at those markets. This is it used to be cheaper, but everything used to be cheaper. This is a bag that was $7, it's $6.99 of cumin. Look how big this bag is. Like if you went to the store and you bought a container, one of those like 2-ounce or whatever the hell containers of spices from a store, you're gonna be paying somewhere between $2.50 and $5 for that tiny little container, and you can get an entire bag. Now, obviously I'm gonna tell you, don't go buy a bag this big if you're not using spices this often or this much, but this is so much cheaper. if even like buy a bag and share it with friends. You know what I mean? Like this just ends up being better for everybody. And I highly, highly recommend going. I mean, I have bags of spices, but like you can get cinnamon, you can get every spice in here was purchased from a market. And then I will take out of the big bag, and I'll pour it into whatever I'm using. So like these cumin seeds came out of here and were blended up for the ground cumin that we used in the marinade, right? And the same thing. So now you can toast whole spices, you can grind it up, and you can have smaller things, and you can kind of do what you want with them. But this is so much cheaper. And honestly, I would honestly say they probably move through product faster than the grocery stores do as well, especially if you're getting ingredients that maybe aren't as popular. You also do have access to more ingredients than you would have if you went into a regular grocery store, because that regular grocery store is not catering to a specific style or cultural food. They're gonna just have what most people are gonna purchase. So you won't be able to find something like, this is optional, but you will notice in the recipe list that I have amateur powder. It's dried mango powder. It is not something that you're gonna find in your grocery store unless you have the best grocery store in the world. So I would say go in, explore, experiment, buy your whole spices from those stores. They are cheaper, they are better, and I highly recommend. Please do it. Okay, so we've got, actually, I already have the one thing that I pre-measured. I pre-measured my my black pepper because I didn't want to bring the container out. I just thought that it would be faster. So I do have my black pepper already measured out here. And then that was a half of a teaspoon, which is about 0.8 grams, so just under a gram. I need to do a teaspoon of whole cumin. That's about 1.7 grams. So I'm just going to kind of shake it out into my hand and get it where I want it to be, and then go from there. Okay. You would never for the life of you use that much cumin. You never know. And the thing is, but here's the thing, is if you keep whole spices last longer, right? It lasts longer than if you were getting pre-ground spices. So if you buy a whole spice and then you grind it as you need it, you are going to have more fragrant ground spices whenever you need them. So maybe you do. Maybe you will need this much. No, you probably won't, but that's okay. They have smaller bags. This is a pretty big bag. They do have smaller ones. I'm sure you can find a smaller bag. You need to have a spice co-op, right? Just have a group of friends that cook and say, okay, I'm going to the store, I'm getting cumin. How many of you need cumin? And then weigh out the bag, split it up accordingly, charge accordingly. Everybody can input. Everybody gets the spices they want for infinitely cheaper. It sounds like a plan. Do it. Sounds like a plan. Okay, so I've got my cumin. Now we're going to do some coriander seeds. Same thing. So I've got whole coriander seeds, and then I have some of the ground coriander. They started here. They ended up there. I've got two completely different things. It's all great. I need about a half of a gram, which is about a half of a teaspoon. Come on. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to need, I've got the black peppercorn in here already. Okay, so that's my whole spices. I do want to have a separate one for the smaller, the already ground spices. So I've got some sweet paprika here, which I want to have a teaspoon of. I'm gonna sneeze, excuse me. I thought I was gonna sneeze, and then I stopped myself because in mid-sneeze I went, oh no, I should mute myself, and then was so concerned about muting myself that I didn't need to sneeze anymore. So that's fun. Okay, so I've got some sweet paprika. Oh wait, this isn't sweet paprika. This is my Kashmiri chili. Whoops. We don't want to do that. That's going to be spicy if I do that much. Back to sneezing, maybe. This is a very awkward cycle that I'm going through right now. Every time I look down, I need to sneeze. How's everything going? Everything's going great. Yay, we did it. I want a bay laurel in the worst way. I actually saw one yesterday at the garden center here in town, at one of the garden centers, but it was $80 and it was actually pretty big. And I was like, my husband's never gonna let me pack that into a moving truck to take across the country. I'm gonna have to see if I can find one at a later date. But yeah, bay leaf and like bay leaf ice cream is so good. And they're so much more fragrant when they're not dried. The spices are getting to me. Yeah. Would it survive over in the tundra? I don't know. I'd probably have it in a pot, and so I can bring it in and out, to be honest. Okay, this is my paprika. This is what I need a teaspoon of, wherever you are. Okay, so I need 2.3 grams, 1 teaspoon. I do have some Kashmiri pepper here, which is basically Indian chili powder. It's spicier than if you were going to use a Mexican chili powder. The peppers that are used are just different. This I use only about a 1/4 teaspoon, but it's just because I have kids. If you want to make it a little bit spicier and put it more toward medium, you can use anywhere between 1/2 of a teaspoon to a teaspoon to have a good amount of spice. It's really up to you. That can, again, just like garlic, you can measure the spice level with your heart or your stomach or your taste buds or your tongue or whatever you want to do it with. Okay. That is all she wrote. Okay, so I've got my spices. I'm going to move these over here. Okay. I'm going to need 1 cinnamon stick. We're going to take that guy out. I'm just kind of going to use this as my discard pile over here. I am going to need more lime juice, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that in a second. Okay, sugar. She wants to add it to everything. Good. I'm glad, Compound. I'm glad that worked. What are these spice jars? These are Libby spice jars. I don't think they make them anymore. They're 2.3 ounce spice jars. And they have like a little kind of rubberish kind of seal, and they fit. And they're perfect for my drawers because I have my spice in pull-out drawers, all my spices. And I did label them on the bottom, most of them, because my husband doesn't know what anything is. And so it's helpful for him. He can like flip everything over and just like see what's what. Coriander seed with something on the bottom of it. Let him know what's what. Yeah, but I labeled underneath. Okay, keep going. So let's start measuring out some other stuff. I'm gonna need some neutral oil. I probably am just gonna do this by sight. I have the measurement written in here for how much you're gonna need, but I'm just gonna do that as I go. Let's see. We need about a teaspoon of kosher salt. I have another. Yeah. Let's do that. Add a teaspoon of salt. Set that off to the side. That is going to be used to sweat down our onions and our tomatoes when it comes to be time for that. We've got chicken stock. I make chicken stock in bulk. So this is a frozen puck that is defrosting as we speak. That was a 2-ounce kind of puck. I have silicone containers that were for like baby food at one time that were 2-ounce silicone molds, and I'll pour liquid sauces and things into those and freeze them, and then I will pop them out and stick them in a baggie so that I have like pucks of 2-ounce pieces of chicken stock, and then I can just add them to sauces to put chicken stock in it. I also have some containers that are larger that I will use for like half cup, full cup, so like 120 to 240 milliliters by a company called Super Cubes. I am an affiliate of theirs, but if you go into my Amazon storefront, those are also there. They do smaller measurements than this, and then it kind of goes all the way up to, I believe, 2 cups is the largest container. So like you could literally make soup and then freeze out like a portion of like a bowl of soup, and what you would have in like one sitting. And you can like freeze those, and then they just, again, like you freeze them and you can pop them right out. Those ones are squares. The baby food ones I have are circular. So I actually prefer the Super Cube ones just because they're squares and they stack better. But they're pretty cool. And I like doing that just because like when you cook in bulk, it's like, it gets kind of hard sometimes to like, when you have like lots of leftovers, to make sure that they're like freezing well and that they're easy to defrost and easy to put in your refrigerator. And like having refrigerator space is like rough sometimes. So. Okay, I'm going to end up needing 2 teaspoons of lime juice. That's probably pretty good. Yeah, that's plenty. So I've got the lime juice I need. I need 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I'm using a European style butter. You don't have to use a European style butter. You can use American style butter. It just has a little bit less fat and a little bit more water, so it's not going to be quite as rich, but it's still going to be good. Okay. Put this back in the refrigerator before it starts getting too soft on me. Got our butter. And then our heavy cream. Gonna need about a 1/4 cup of that. I can put that in. I'm gonna measure that when the time comes, actually. That's gonna be an easy thing to measure out. And then we can do the last of it when it comes time to do it. But I've basically got everything up to the very end measured out. Because we're getting the sauce taken care of, blending it. So like you get it all start to cook down, then you get all of it out of your cooking vessel. I'm using a Dutch oven. If you want to use a soup pot, you can, that's fine. But you pour it out, blend it, put it back in, and then you add in your lime juice and your butter and your cinnamon stick, and you kind of let them steep. The cream goes in at that point. So you can kind of do the last stuff because it's not quick cooking. You can do that and measure that out as you come to it. I jumped a little bit ahead and got most of it measured out, but we can do the rest of that when the time comes. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to actually clean this space up just a little bit so that we have a better visual. And I'm going to pull out my induction cooktop. This way you guys can see what I'm up to. And I have an induction cooktop I'm going to pull out so that I can cook for you guys over here instead of having you guys watch my back for the next 20 minutes. We don't want to do that. Okay. We've got all of our stuff pretty much ready to go. So, cooktop is not where it's supposed to be. Where did it end up? Oh no. Oh, it's here. Okay. There we go. We used it the other day and it just got put back in a different place. Okay. There's our cooktop. Okay. We're gonna do this guy. And then I'm gonna need this. We got all of our ingredients. Okay. I think this is pretty good. It's pretty funny. Okay, so what we're gonna do is now we're gonna add oil. We're gonna get this heated up. We're gonna add oil, and then we're gonna toast our spices. Then we're gonna add in our aromatics, and then quickly add in our onions. And we're gonna get everything kind of working and moving so that the toasted spices do not continue cooking. We don't want them to burn. We just want them to like nicely toast. And turn this on along with the other spices are gonna go in around the same time as the aromatics and the onions. Get this going. Got it at half power. You're gonna be roughly at like medium high heat. The thing about oil is that it gets very hot. No one's surprised. Liquid will only get up to boiling temperature. After that, liquid does not get any higher. Or water, will not get any higher than boiling temperature, but oil does. And so you have to kind of be careful when you decide that you're going to cook on like medium heat. Medium and water is very different than a dry cooking method, which is oil, and medium and oil. Oil will just continue to get hotter and hotter and hotter. So you have to make sure that you're not getting too hot or you're going to end up with a problem. I'm going to move this further this way so that we are in great. I can't come any closer. That's about where we got on this camera. Okay, we'll do that. This is not a Le Creuset. I don't actually know what this is. This is something that I got. This is Brandani. I don't know. I got it at a like a Marshall or a TJ Maxx or something like that for a client. I was doing a client shoot and I needed a Dutch oven this color because my Dutch ovens are all this color. And this was not the color that they needed for their pictures. So I went and picked this up. I think I spent $16.99 on it. And it is genuinely a good Dutch oven. I haven't had any issues with it. I haven't had any chipping on the enamel or any of that. It cleans up really nice. All in all, I'd say it was a great purchase. So don't worry about it. This is not a Le Creuset, and your wife could have this if she wanted it. Okay, it said 3 tablespoons. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that in now. There's about 2 tablespoons in there, but the bottom of the pot is small enough that I don't think that I need that much. Because it's really just you wanna coat the bottom and have enough that you can do what you wanna do with it. Okay, I'm gonna turn this down just a tad. We're gonna immediately go through all of our stuff. Okay, so I'm having everything ready. Okay, we're gonna toast our spices. Once you start smelling them, you know that they're where you want them to be. So I'm already smelling them. We got this going in. If you want, you can use a whole pepper. Get like the little Kashmiri peppers. You can use a whole pepper instead of the ground that we have. I just don't have access to the whole peppers. Okay, and then right in. So you see how fast that goes, right? So you want to have everything ready and prepped so you don't burn anything. Okay, I'm going to add my salt so that it starts to break down the onions. And we're going to let them soften a bit before we add our tomatoes in. I want the salt to really pull the moisture out of the onions and get them breaking down because they are more fibrous than tomatoes are, and the tomatoes are going to slow the cooking down just because they're going to let off so much moisture. I did use a sweet onion for this. If you want, you can also use a yellow onion or a white onion. A white onion is going to be a little bit more caustic and a little bit crisper in flavor. You're not going to get the sweetness that you would get out of your sweet onion or out of say a yellow onion, but it is doable. Whoops. I'm gonna let that go for just a minute, and then we'll add our tomatoes in. Okay, so I can now see that the onions are starting to sweat. They're getting moisture on the outside of them. The edges are starting to look slightly translucent. Okay, I'm gonna toss in my tomatoes. If you want this to cook down faster, you can put a lid on it. I might do that. I think I am going to do that. I'm going to put a lid on this and let that keep cooking. I am going to lower the temperature though, because once you put a lid on it, it's going to increase the pressure inside the pan and the temperature is going to rise. And we don't want that to get too hot. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Clean up just a tad. These are the rest of the ingredients that are going to go in later. Ooh, I'm missing one. Okay. And then I'll keep the salt out just in case I want a salt to taste. I knocked the plug out of the wall. I'm like, why did it turn off? It turned off. Hold on a second. Go back to where we were. Okay. So something else that I am going to do, I'm going to pull, I guess we're going to bring our blender up here so that we can start kind of scooping and putting it into the blender when it's time. It should only be another 5 minutes or so. And then I'm also going to kind of think about what I'm going to cook the chicken in, because I need to cook this chicken. We can talk a little bit about cooking chicken now. Okay, so cooking chicken. I'm going to pan fry them, pan saute them. I'm just gonna set them down, let them sear, let them cook, and I will go through that whole process because that's how I'm cooking it as I do it. But you could also bake it in the oven. We've got all of our little kind of like chicken tendery situations going on because we've chopped them down into bite-sized pieces. You can, I would say to put them on a cooling rack. So one of these guys, if you inset this into a into a baking tray and then put the chicken on that, it's gonna kind of mimic a grill in a way that like setting the chicken down completely flat will not. And then you will get air circulation, which will cook it a little bit more evenly. It's probably gonna take about 15 minutes or so to cook those pieces of chicken. I would tell you to put them in the oven at, say, 400, which I want to say, that's what, 204? I think that's 204 Celsius, a 400-degree oven. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's in the UK. I think it's 204 Celsius. So you're going to cook it in about a 400-degree oven for, I'd say 10 minutes, and then flip it, and then let it continue cooking. So take the chicken out, flip all the pieces of the chicken, put it back in the oven for another 2 to 5 minutes, let's say 5 minutes, and then you're gonna check the internal temperature with the thermometer and make sure that you're getting to 165, which is about 73.9, 74 Celsius. And so you just go ahead and get a quick read thermometer, and you're gonna just kind of put it into some of the bigger pieces of chicken, make sure that you've hit the correct internal temperature, so we don't get sick. We don't wanna make anybody sick. Okay. Let's see. If you also want to grill it, you can grill your chicken. You can grill, if you want to, you could keep the tenderloins intact, and you can just marinate the tenderloins as they are, and then you can cook them on a grill, right up on the grill, and then slice them when you're done. Yes, you're not getting marinade in the entire surface area because whatever you cut into, where you've cut doesn't have marinade there. So you're losing a little bit of that, but generally it's just as good and it's fine and it doesn't matter. But you could like just grill it that way, or you could cut into bite-sized pieces and you can grill them on a grill if you skewer them, kind of like a kebab, right? So you can there are metal skewers that you can get, and you can put the pieces on that and grill them right over on your grill. If you use wooden skewers, please soak your wooden skewers for at least 30 minutes to make sure that they don't catch fire on your grill. Nobody wants that. And when you're putting the chicken onto a skewer, make sure that there is air and you can see in between them, that they are not fully touching. Because if the chicken is fully touching up against, that is not going to cook. You want the heat to be able to wrap fully around the pieces of chicken. So you don't want them squished up against each other when you're grilling them. Is there any other thing that you can do? I think that's basically it. Grilling, baking, pan, cooking, sauteing. Yes, I think that's about it. So those are all the things that you can do. Let's see where we are on this. All right, we are cooking down, but we are not where we want. So what I'm looking for on these guys, hold on a second. Let me ask my husband to fix the video. Hey, hon, can you move so the camera so that this is actually in frame all the way? Please. Thank you. Okay. So what I'm looking for, I've got a little bit of translucency. So like this guy, I can see through him. This piece of onion, I can see mostly through him. And some of the tomatoes that were at the bottom of the pot are in fact cooking down to where I want them to be. You can see it's basically kind of falling apart. The skin is kind of pulling up off of it. It's getting where I want, but the ones that were on top are still fully hard and intact. And I want everything to cook down before I put it into the blender. Or it'll be like, it gets kind of bitter if it's not cooked down the right way when you're first going. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that around a little bit. You can see though, we've got liquid in the bottom that's cooking off of the onions and the tomatoes and everything, and the oil that we put in. And that's what we want. So we know that it's not gonna burn. I am gonna lid this again and then come back to it. But once those tomatoes have cooked down just a little bit and they start breaking down a little bit more, we're in a good place to put them into the blender. Yeah, he's my assistant today. He's my assistant. Okay. Is there anything else that I can be doing right now? I think honestly, we're just gonna sit and chat for like 2 minutes while this keeps going. Yeah, does anybody, okay, so if anybody is cooking with me, or if anybody has any questions, I'm gonna be looking over here at my computer. I'm looking at my chat, and so if you guys have any questions, please ask. I'm happy to answer anything while this continues to cook down. We do have, I guess, let me figure out what I want to cook. I'm going to cook the chicken, I think, on this just so I can get it done in one batch. This is what I use for my tortillas, but we're going to go ahead and use that for the chicken today just so that I can cook everything in one go. I'm going to get a better sear, to be honest, on a stainless steel pan for the chicken than I would on this guy. But I have less surface area on this. If I had a bigger stainless steel pan, this would be my preferred one. Also because it has the sides so that I won't get splattered on. I probably will get hit a couple times using this guy, but we're going to do it. I don't want to have to do 2 rounds of cooking, and I don't want to crowd my pan. Because if you crowd your pan, then you have too much moisture in the pan, and you're not going to get the sear and the brown that you want, the flavor, and that like really nice crust on the chicken. If I crowd my pan. Now, I will say, if you are using a stainless steel cookware, make sure that you just leave the chicken. Leave it, let it cook. It will release when that crust is made. Essentially, the moisture on the chicken is going to cause it to fuse with your stainless steel pan. Anytime you add moisture and you bring the temperature down very quickly in a stainless steel pan, even if you heated it appropriately, it's going to stick a little bit. But when it is cooked the correct way, like to the correct point, I should say. So the protein has cooked enough, it will release from the pan, and you do have a nonstick pan if you heat it and you cook with it appropriately. But it's the like you throw chicken down, you leave it there for a minute, and then you try to flip it the second you see it. Like that's where you run into issues with your stainless steels like not being nonstick. It's just because you're not allowing the protein to cook long enough on the surface. I would tell you, and I will get to this when I'm cooking, let your chicken cook like 3/4 of the way up. Like you'll notice because chicken is like pinkish, right, when it's raw, and then it turns to like a white color as it cooks and it gets opaque. No, less opaque. It gets less opaque. And so you'll see that white kind of creep up the sides of the chicken as you're cooking it. And once it gets like 3/4 of the way up, at that point you can flip it. And it should be not sticking by that point. That's true for all protein. Yes, the releasing, because if you're searing, you're creating a crust, right? So you have like a high heat. You're putting protein down, eggs. It works on eggs, steak, like any protein. When you put it down, you create that sear, you sear it and you create that crust. The second that crust is fully formed, it will release because now there's no more moisture, right? You've dehydrated it enough that you've created that like seal against that, and then it will release and you can flip it to the other side. Unagi, thank you. Thank you for that shout out. Somebody in our live just said that you can join my Patreon to have exclusive access to my Discord. Yeah, I do have a private Discord with a bunch of people in it that are all Patreon subscribers, or I guess I shouldn't say all Patreon subscribers, that are monetary Patreon subscribers. The lowest subscription is $1 a month. I think the highest is $20 a month. But everybody gets the same access to everything. It's really just what level of support you want to give. And that allows you to get into a Discord. We have a bunch of different food channels. Questions like if you're traveling, we have a traveling foodies channel. So if you're traveling, you can say, hey, I'm going to this place. Where's a good, like, where do you think I should go? And we'll chime in with different places you should hit up. Or if you are traveling, you can post where you ate and talk about it and give us like the rundown. And like give a review of where you went. If you did something really cool in the kitchen or you failed miserably, we do have a wins and fails channel. We have some general stuff and IRL if you want to throw stuff that's like non-cooking in. I have a lot of behind the scenes things that I will also add in there. So I have like a separate channel with like behind the scenes stuff. So I'll ask a lot of the times the content that I'm doing is like, what's the word? Chosen by the Patreon members, because I'll go in there and I'll be like, okay, I'm stuck. Somebody tell me what I should be doing for the next cook along, and we'll like talk about it until we come up with an answer. So it's a really fun space. It If you don't want to be a part of the Discord, but you still want to support, there we go. That's what I want. If you don't want to be a part of the Discord because you want to just like lurk, but you still want to support, you can like, follow, subscribe, comment on anything that you see content-wise on my socials or my website. Anytime you comment, it helps the algorithm, obviously. If you want to support monetarily, but you don't want to be part of the Discord, that's also fine. Any subscriptions to Patreon help me not put ads on my website, which I think everybody appreciates. So that's, and it helps me continue making the content that I'm making, which I really enjoy doing. So yeah, any support in any way. It's as simple as liking a picture, liking a post, commenting on a post, all the way up to being a paid member and being part of the Discord and really getting your hands into everything that we're doing. So yeah, it's fun. It's a fun space. It's a good community. We have a really good community. I'm really happy about how that ended up. An app would be a lot. In all honesty, an app would be a lot. The website is good for now. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this off. We are definitely where we want to be. You can see that the tomato has cooked down. It's broken down. Is it fully a sauce? No, but is there plenty of sauce? Yes, that's great for when we go to blend because we want to make sure that we have enough liquid in here that it will blend up. This is going to be really hot, so I am definitely going to use this guy when I grab the handles on this pot because yikes. Actually, I do have a ladle. We're going to start off doing this, and then whatever is left, I'll lift and pour. This might be a two-person effort if you have somebody to help you while you're making this, so that you can essentially have one person lift the pot and then one person scrape out the pot. But it is pretty liquidy, so it's not like you're not pouring a puree or anything like that at this point. That's really what comes out of the mixer, or the blender, sorry. That's what comes out of the blender when you're done there. Okay, so I'm just gonna get most of that out and then we'll pour the rest of it and hopefully I'll get all the spices out. If I get one or two spices stuck to this, it's not that big of a deal. The kind of nice thing, actually, the nice thing about this guy is that he's small. My other Dutch ovens are so big that I can't hold them one-handed. So this is actually kind of nice. Not a two-person job today. Okay. Now I am gonna put this back on for now, but this I'm going to end up moving back here so that I can cook the chicken in front of you guys and you can see that with the overhead. So for just now, I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna stand back so it's not so loud. Okay. Somebody just asked if an immersion blender would be good. So here's a stick blender. This is an immersion blender. You can use it. However, we have whole spices in there. And we also have tomatoes that still have the skin on them. This is going to give you a really rustic sauce. If you are fine having pieces of like tomato skin not being fully blended out, and you're fine with randomly hitting some whole spices, you can use an immersion blender. It is really up to you. You could also stick with me. Take a tomato before you cook it all the way down. if you put, I'm gonna just show you here, okay? So if you put an X into your tomato, just like this, okay? You've got like a little kind of plus sign going on, and you put these into like a pot with a little bit of water and just steam them. You'll be, for a couple of minutes, you'll be able to pull the skin off of them, and then you can chop them because they'll still be pretty full. They're not gonna be like mush or anything like that. You're just steaming off the skin. You can then cut this and add this back in when it comes time to add the tomatoes in. And you could use only ground spices. So you can kind of quick toast the ground spices in the oil like super fast, and not for as long as we did with the whole spices. And then you can use the immersion blender and it'll be like fine because everything was ground, and all the things that are gonna be, that aren't gonna break down the way that they would in a powered blender, will be broken down. So if you do want to use an immersion blender, it's the only thing that you have access to. I would say to do those things, to take the skin off the tomato and only use ground spices, so that you don't come across like random whole spices and that the skin isn't in your way. Otherwise, a full blender is recommended, like a whole powered blender or whatever it's called. Yeah, immersion blenders are absolutely great for soup, stews, sauces that you want it to be like a little bit more rustic and you like to have that texture. You don't want it to be really, really creamy. And some immersion blenders are pretty high powered. They do a great job, but you do have to make sure that you're kind of covering the two kind of issues where you might run into that I mentioned. If your stick blender is good enough to take care of that, absolutely, by all means use your immersion blender and don't worry about trying to clean this thing, because I know how hard it can be. You're not getting all the sauce out of it. It's kind of hard to clean. Like, I totally get that. So if an immersion blender is where you want to go, you absolutely can. Absolutely. Oh, thanks, Fluffy. I love everything you do with food. That's nice. Okay. So we're gonna pour this in. Okay. Oops, wrong one. I don't need this blender anymore, so I'm gonna move it out of the way so it's not in our way anymore. Okay, so now we have our sauce, and we're going to finish it. I'm gonna finish it here with you, and then I'm gonna move it back there to let it simmer while we make the chicken. Okay? So I just want this to gently simmer. You want like kind of a bubble here and there. We are not doing a rolling boil. We're not doing anything crazy. We just kind of want to finish it out and let it really cook the flavors and kind of meld everything together. And most of this stuff we already have measured. Actually, let me get my measuring spoons back because I do need to measure out this amateur powder. Okay. So at this point, we are going to add our cinnamon stick. We're going to add the butter. I need another spoon. Or the first spoon that I was using. Just wipe the ginger off this. Okay. We're going to add our butter in. It's about 2 tablespoons of butter. It's about 28 grams. We're going to need our lime juice, which is here. And that is 2 teaspoons. It's about 10 milliliters. If this would like to pour anytime today. Oh, shoot. Oh, that's 2, give or take. Okay. Let's see, cream. Okay. We need a 1/4 cup, 60 mils of cream, of heavy cream. It might be double cream, depending on where you are. Okay. We need our 2 ounces of chicken stock, 60 mils of chicken stock. And then we do need some Amchur powder, which is optional. I'm saying need just because I like it. It's dry mango powder. It's really tangy. It gives a really nice added depth of flavor and like a little extra tang and savoriness to the final dish. And then also we need some sugar and some more nutmeg. I like to grate a little bit of extra nutmeg at the end. I really like finishing sauces and soups that have cream in them with some extra nutmeg. I think it just gives it a really nice extra earthiness. And I like to do it almost right at the end so that it doesn't melt in and that flavor is kind of like really right at the surface. The same thing goes with the Amchur powder. Amchur powder is a finishing powder. You're not going to cook it at the very beginning because it's going to just kind of disappear into it. It is more powerful of a flavor if you're adding it at the end. The same thing goes with, like, I know I mentioned gumbo earlier. Filet is the same way. You add your gumbo filet right at the very end. You don't add it at the beginning. Okay, so we are going to do about a 1/4 teaspoon of the Amchur powder. I'm grabbing that guy right now. And then we're also going to do a 1/2 tablespoon of granulated sugar. Did I say teaspoon? 1/2 tablespoon? I don't know what I said. 1/2 tablespoon, which is, let's see how much that actually is. About 7 grams. Okay, I'm gonna give this a mix. And you're gonna see the cream really lightens it up. Yeah, tomato skins can be kind of weird. They just don't break down. The same thing with peppers, right? So like when you roast peppers and then you put them into a plastic bag and let them steam and then you peel the skin off, it's because that skin doesn't really break down unless you are super blending it. You could also use whole tomatoes that have been skinned. So like if you get like peeled whole tomatoes in a can, but they're not going to be as fresh. And so that's going to change the flavor of your dish. And so that's kind of like, you kind of have to work around things, right? It's like you could buy something that doesn't have skin on it, but it's not going to be as fresh as a fresh tomato. But then you also have to blend it so that the skin's not a problem. It's a whole thing. So yeah, but that, if you steam it, then you can peel off the skins and they'll be fine. I'm gonna taste this so I see where I am. That's good. And it's got a good kick to it. I think my kids could eat it. I think they could. They'll be fine with this. I can't go any hotter than this, though, or they're going to be like, Mommy, it's too spicy. That's good. Okay, last bit. We've got a little bit of extra nutmeg, and then this sauce is done. And all I need to do is let it kind of sit over here, and we can start cooking our chicken, which has been going for about an hour. Perfect. Measure with your heart. That's about, I think it's supposed to be about a 1/4 teaspoon. I didn't do that much, but I'm happy with how much I put in. Let's see. Are we going to sieve it, the sauce? No, because I've blended it so much, I don't need to do that. if you genuinely wanted like something that was the creamiest that you've ever had, yeah, you could put it through a strainer if you wanted to, like a fine mesh strainer. I don't think that it's necessary when you blend it down with a powered blender. If you use a stick blender, I would probably do that, yeah. Or at least if you use a stick blender that's like not an amazing stick blender, I would do that. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna move this to the back. We're gonna let this just continue to chill back here and reduce a little bit and thicken just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this off right now, and then I'm going to clear up a little bit, bring out the chicken, and then we can start cooking and taking care of the chicken. I want to get rid of all this. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to put the cream back into the refrigerator. I don't think I have anything else out that needs to be refrigerated. I think that's good. And we're going to pull out our chicken. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, this is about to get a little messy, and I think I kind of want to work over a surface. I usually do this by my sink, but I don't have access to my sink if I'm trying to be on camera. So we have to do things a little weird today. So I mentioned earlier that if you have moisture on your protein, that it's going to stick to your pan. Now, this is a nonstick pan. It's not a huge deal. Do I prefer stainless steel? Yes, I do. Is it going to give you a better sear and better flavor? Yes, it will. But I do want to at least show you guys what I would typically do, because I usually do use my stainless steel pan. But I need to have like a surface that I can get chicken gook on and get some of the marinade on without having to worry. Okay, we're gonna set that way for a second. So something that you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to kind of like towel dry your chicken. You've probably done this before if you've like made chicken wings or something like that. You've probably like, it'll say like pat dry, right? Your steaks, pat dry your chicken wings or something like that before you cook it. And it's for that reason. If you ever see where you're cooking some kind of animal protein and it says pat dry before adding a dry rub or adding it to the pan or whatever, it's for that reason. It's for sticking purposes. And so what I'm going to do just like a bunch of these. It's probably more than I'm going to need, but just in case. This is going to be so weird. This is not my last cooking stream before moving. We've got one more. I'm going to make cookies next month. We're going to be making pistachio snowball cookies. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to take out piece by piece, and I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of a squish in between the towel, and then I'm going to set it down. And I'll have a little bit of like, once this towel gets too much, it gets too wet, I'll set it down on the left side, and I'll have like a discard pile and then like the chicken that's been prepped. But essentially what you're doing is you're taking the moisture from the marinade kind of off of the chicken so that it can sear and it won't stick as much. And now remember, we've had this marinating. It marinated for 30 minutes in the first part of the marinade, and then we had it in for another hour plus before we took it out for this purpose. And if you are marinating this at your own pace, if you want to go up to 6 hours, you can, which means this chicken has plenty of flavor. I'm not doing a disservice here by giving this a little bit of a pat off. If anything, I'm just going to get a better Maillard reaction. I'm going to get a better crust on it when I go to cook it because there's less moisture that's going to end up in the pan. Also, something to keep in mind is that, well, at least for me, in my opinion, yogurt left on protein when you go to cook it creates like a kind of weird texture for me. I like to have like full on, like really nice bite of chicken and really bright flavors. And I feel like yogurt detracts from that. And it can get a little bit like sandy when it cooks and it will come off. Like you don't get that nice crust right on the meat because the yogurt is kind of in a layer in the way. And so that's why I use less yogurt in this recipe. There's like not a ton of it. On a ratio of like yogurt to protein or yogurt to chicken, I guess in this case. That's why I use so little of it because I know that I don't want a whole bunch of it stuck to the meat. I want it to just do its job in tenderizing and not have it be a part of the like final product. Yeah, that's a great tip. Brushed, that's a great tip. If you ever want super crispy chicken skin on drumsticks, on your Thanksgiving turkey, on any chicken wings, leave it in your refrigerator overnight and it's going to dry out. The dehumidifying process processor or whatever in your refrigerator is going to dry out the skin on those chicken wings and they'll be super crispy when you cook them. Even better if you want to dry brine them and add some salt to your chicken wings. And then it'll pull all of the moisture out of the chicken wings. You'll end up with a saline solution kind of floating out on top and then it'll soak back in and the skin will dehydrate if you let it sit overnight and they'll be like nice and ready to go. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like giving them a little bit of a pat and a rub and then setting them down. Just taking off a little bit of the moisture. Doesn't have to be all of it. They don't have to be, you don't have to like super dry out your chicken, just enough that they're just like tacky to the touch. And that's about what you want, what you're going for by feel. Drying the protein is the tip of the day for you? Good. Cool. Yeah, that'll help you a lot when it comes, especially when it comes to things like steak and chicken. Honestly, it's great for things that are delicate like fish or chicken because then it won't break apart as easily, but then it's also great for things like a heartier protein like a beef or lamb or something like that, just because then you're going to get a really nice crust that you would otherwise not be able to get if there was too much moisture. And it's going to let it release from your pan a lot easier. I am a little more than halfway. I'll try to speed up a little bit. This is a lot easier over a sink, but we're making do. And then I'll use some tongs. After I wash my hands, I'll just use tongs instead of my fingers. I'll wash my hands and go from there. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to do a cooking stream in the new house. How do I feel about using mustard to help seasoning stick to your protein? Do you mean, I've never done that, so I really don't have a way to feel about that. Mustard as in like the condiment, or mustard like ground mustard powder? I mean, you're using yogurt in the same way that I'm thinking that you would be using mustard. The thing is that yogurt has an acid in it, right? It's acidic, and the same way that mustard has vinegar in it. And so you're basically using them for the same reason. They just have different flavors. So it's kind of what I'm gathering from that. I'm not sure if we are on the same page. I've got 4 pieces left. Do I ever reverse sear when I do steaks? I do. I reverse sear for larger cuts though. So I do a dry brine and a reverse sear on prime rib. I think it is the superior way to cook roasts, is to do a reverse sear. I don't do that when it comes to cooking like a regular steak though. For regular steaks, I'll pan sear and then I'll just toss them in the oven for a couple minutes and call it a day. Yeah, you get a little bit more cooked in from where you seared than I would if I had reverse seared it and then just like full on given it like a final sear and called it a day. But it's close enough that it's like not a big deal to me. But for like whole roasts that are going to cook over a really long period of time, if I want that midsection to be uniform, I will definitely do reverse searing on that guy. To me, it's the optimal way to do that. Did I answer your question about the mustard? Pass? Was that kind of where you were going with? You've been trying on ribeyes, but it seems like the oven keeps undercooking my steaks. Can you tell me your whole process? And then I'll see what I can help you with. If you write it out, I may be able to work through that with you. Okay, let's get this up to a pretty high heat. We're gonna go medium, medium, high. Meanwhile, this guy is just kind of very low, gentle bubbles going on back here. You usually get like a little ring in the center that's got like some foamy bubble kind of something going on, but they're like very gently going. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I would also, that's a really good point. I would tell you to invest in a wireless thermometer. There are a couple of different brands out there that do it. Let's see. I've got a couple. So I have a meter. I was using a meter for a pretty long time, but it only has 2 sensors in it. I guess everything that I use has an app. Like they have apps that you can like download and then it'll go from there. This is what I was using when I was just using Bluetooth. And I downloaded their app. It kind of sets it up for you, tells you what the temperature is. When you started, it gives you an ambient temperature and then an internal temperature and what you're doing. And you can set it to the temperature that you want to essentially take it out and then like rest. Whatever steak or something that you're doing, you would do that. But then I bought, this was the investment. So I bought a ThermoWorks RFX meat probe. I did buy a double. So I've got 2 probes. It has 6 sensors in it, I believe. Is it 4 or 6? I think maybe it's 4, actually. But it's got more sensors in it, and I connected. Essentially, you put this into your wireless, and you get this logged into your internet. And then once it's logged into your internet, you can just keep checking the app from anywhere. I could like leave the house. I could leave the house, and I could go and keep checking the temperature, and I don't have to be on Bluetooth. Honestly, it was a game changer, and I'm really happy that I did it. And I'm really excited about smoking some like brisket and all sorts of other things, smoking cheeses, and I needed something closer to that so that I wasn't like attached. Because like with the Bluetooth, I can't take my phone further away than like right here from the oven. So like if I want to walk into another, go to the bathroom, walk somewhere else, go down the street because I forgot an ingredient or whatever, I lose the visual of knowing where the temperature is on the probes. And so yeah, the brand is ThermoWorks. I believe I'm in full disclosure, I am also an affiliate with them, but I kind of like, for the brands that I use, I like reached out to the brands and I was like, hey, I love your brand. Do you have an affiliate program? I would love to be an affiliate. If you go into, if you find me on Instagram at A Little Spoon, my link in bio has the affiliates that I'm kind of with it. And you can kind of scroll through and you can click it and you buy it through there and I'll get a little bit from it. Otherwise, just buy it wherever. I think I also have it in my Amazons. No, they don't sell them on Amazon. They only sell this specific thing through their website. So you would have to go to thermoworks.com to find it. I do not have a code. I only have a link. So if you do want to support, you would have to go to my link in bio to find it and click through to it, or just go and buy it. Like in general, honestly, it's a great product. You don't need to go through my link or anything like that, but you can if you really want to. But ThermoWorks, and you're looking for RFX is the wireless is what you're looking for. Right, this is hot enough. I'm going to get going. Where is my oil? I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to the pan. This is where I'm gonna get splattered once I start adding the chicken. It's fine. I'll be fine. Whew, I'm a little scared. Probably going to end up with 2 batches. Yeah, we'll do one little piece here in the middle. That's probably fine. I didn't space it very well, but we'll do 2 batches. I'm going to pull out another set of tongs for the ones that are cooked, so I'm not using tongs on raw and cooked meat. I'm going to wait. Essentially, when I see the chicken start to get really opaque, so you're going from that pink into kind of the white cooked protein, when it starts to come up and it's about maybe 60 to 75% of the way cooked up the meat from bottom up. Then I'm gonna flip it, and by that time, it should absolutely have released from the pan. I'm not making naan today. I do have some naan that I made previously that I'm going to heat up, and I also have some rice in my rice cooker over there so that I can have a full meal of this when I am done cooking it. I'm very excited. But I'm not going to be making naan today. I do have a recipe for an all-purpose flatbread on my website at alittlespoon.com. You can essentially make it, and then you can use it in a couple of different ways. I've got 3 options. One is as a pita bread, one is as naan, and one is for like when people do like flatbread pizzas. Basically, you're cooking them slightly different, and you're going to be rolling them out to a slightly different thickness. And then what you do, whichever cooking choice you choose, or whichever like thickness you choose, will determine kind of what you come up with. So this one is done and ready to turn. I'm gonna turn him. This one is also done. And the other ones are still going. Have I thought about getting the Control Freak from Breville yet? I don't know what that is. What is that? Yeah, this pan is my pan for tortillas and pancakes and things like that. I kind of use it the way that you would use like a griddle or like a comal. It works. It doesn't have great sides, so like if you're trying to actually like saute and move something around, it's like not the best. But otherwise, we're in a good. This is actually a crepe pan. Yeah. You can use, okay, so other options. You don't want to use chicken. You want to stick to something that is better for vegetarian senses. You can do a couple of different things. You can do like a chana masala, and you can add some garbanzo beans, or any kind of like, even like cannelloni beans, cannellini, like the kind of brown looking butter beans. You can use those. I would say if you are going to use a legume of some kind, that you should bake it in your oven for about 10 to 15 minutes to get the moisture out of it. It's just going to make the texture starchier, and it will taste better. The texture will be better in your final dish. You can use paneer. Paneer is an excellent option. You can do a couple of different things. You can cut it, and you can put it directly into your sauce and let it kind of cook and soften in your sauce. You can also bake it for a little bit in the oven to warm it up before adding it into your sauce. And the third option you can do with your paneer is you can actually add it into some, like you can boil it for a little bit, basically. You can add it to some warm water or some boiling, like some hot water for like 10 minutes to soften it before adding it into the sauce. And that's just gonna give you a better texture. If you try to do this with paneer, it's going to harden and it's going to like shrink up a little bit. And then it's going to be rubbery and chewy when you go to eat it in the sauce. You don't want to do that. You want to soften it and then put it in the sauce instead of like cooking it. It's like the opposite. Like you don't want to cook it, you want to soften it. I do have instructions on the recipe. So if you do go to this recipe on my website, I do have like full, like with times and temperatures for paneer. And then I also think that roasted vegetables would be a great option. If you did like roasted carrots or like starchy stuff, so like carrots or potatoes or something like that, would be great in this dish. So like all of those are options. Oop, there we go. Yeah, paneer is so good. I like palak paneer. It's like spinach. It's essentially like just a really lovely spinach sauce with paneer in it, and it's like one of my favorite things to get when we eat out at an Indian place. Okay, cool. I'm gonna get a separate plate for this so that I can get it once these are cooked. We can set them aside. Ooh. Okay. I have a feeling some of these are cooked all the way. I generally will just like, this one's cooked. That one is not. I usually just press down on chicken to tell if it's cooked or not. But we're gonna be good today. This one's done. We'll be good today, and we'll actually check it. Almost cooked. This is so silly. Generally, I'll just kind of give it a little press down, and if I get enough resistance, then I know that it's cooked all the way through, or at least will cook the rest of the way through during carryover cooking. So I guess let me see if it's a little bit more than that. So the rule of thumb for steak, and this is why this is not a hard and fast rule. Please do not hold me to this. I don't want to be held liable for this. But when it comes to steaks, essentially this is rare, this is medium rare, this is medium, and this is like medium well. And so essentially for all of you who are here today with me, or if you're interested in this when you come to this playlist later, if you put your pointer finger and your thumb together and press right here on the meat of your thumb, that is what a medium rare steak is going to feel like on your grill. And if you switch to your middle finger and then switch to your ring finger and switch to your pinky, you're going to feel the texture of this part of your thumb get tighter and tighter and tighter. And essentially the tightest one here, our medium well, is what chicken feels like when you press on it and it's basically done. I don't know if that's helpful to you, but sans thermometer, it could get you where you need to go. The other thing that you could do for chicken is if you get a toothpick and you poke like a hole into it and then pull the toothpick out, if you get any liquid that's like oozing out, it's not quite finished cooking. Not quite finished cooking. That liquid that's getting pushed out is because not all of the proteins have finished kind of coagulating. And so it like will kind of express a little bit. And so like if you put it in, the problem with that is if it's overcooked, you will also not get liquid. So there's a fine line between it. Hey, it's cooked, so we're not getting like all of this extra kind of juice running out of it. And also, that's done. And also like, oh, we've overcooked it, so of course you're not going to get that because there's like no juice left to do anything with. Tastes good. I feel like, is it? God, I can't imagine having a steak that, that's not me. I guess it depends on how loosely you're pressing for the rare or medium rare. If you're just like gently up against, like right up near kind of the top. Like down here, it's a little bit thick. It's a little bit tighter. But like up here, it's pretty. That'd be rare. But if you press at all, like even just like give it like a gentle press, then I guess that for me that's like a medium rare texture. Let's check that one. Yeah. Okay. We'll go on to our second batch. Huh? Okay. All right, we're gonna do a second batch. Could I clean my pan? Yes. Oh well. Okay. Trying to get as much of this in here as possible. I'm gonna have to do a third batch, my God. Yeah, if I had had that 10-inch skillet, this would have been a mess. Grilling is probably the easiest way for me to do this, or to keep the tenderloins intact and then just cut after you're done cooking them, because it's just faster that way, but this works. I'm actually going to eat some of this now. That's good. Okay, so something else. Give me 1 second, friends. I don't know how to. Oh well. Something else I want to touch on as we're doing this. I know like some recipes are going to have you take the chicken and toss it into the sauce and then cook the chicken in the sauce. I'm happy with the texture of this chicken and I like the flavor of the chicken. So what I tend to do is like I will do rice and chicken and then I will pour sauce over it, or I'll like maybe toss to coat and then put the chicken in, because I like having the differentiation between the chicken and the sauce. And I feel like if you toss the chicken into the sauce, you could end up overcooking it by accident. And I don't want that to happen. So I kind of do this in a weird, like, I don't know, like where I don't actually like, I don't like to cook the chicken in the sauce. I might like, if I know that this is all gonna get eaten in one go, I might put the chicken in for like a minute or two and then, but the longer it sits in there, the less flavor you're gonna get, the more everything's gonna just taste like the sauce. And then it's kind of like we did all that marinating and we did all of this cooking and browning and whatever, and it just goes into the sauce. So it's really up to you on how you want to do it, but yeah. Thank you, Panda. Much appreciated. Oops. There we go. Let's put that back down on the pan. Okay. I am actually going to make a plate of this just because it is finished. Or a bowl or something. I'm gonna get a bowl. I'm kind of surprised my husband disappeared, and I know he's not by his computer because he went outside, so he's gonna miss this. Okay, so we've got, some of the basmati rice. Here, now we're cooking. I turned up the heat on this. It was taking a little longer than I wanted it to. We're gonna do some of the chicken. I'm just gonna grab with my fingers because why not? I'm in my own kitchen. And then I'm going to add some sauce. I don't want to wait. Oh, don't forget to take, I should mention this. Don't forget to take the cinnamon stick out. It really only needs to sit for about 30 minutes in there to finish. After that, it's going to start tasting like a lot of cinnamon. Yay. I'm really excited. The sauce is going to be hot, though. Mmm. Mmm. Yeah, it's really good. I'm very happy with this. That's tasty. Yeah, this is, I mean, I would say this, what I'm doing here is absolutely non-traditional. Like using like a tandoor style oven or even like cooking on a grill is going to give you more flavor. It's going to be closer to the traditional way of making this if you have this like on a skewer and you're cooking it more like a kebab than what I'm doing. This is just kind of for the benefit of being able to be in front of a camera. My grill is out there. This is just easier in general. But it's still very good. It's a great way to get flavor. Even if you're not getting some of the char that you would be getting on a grill, it's still gonna have plenty of browning, and that's gonna give you some added flavor that you would otherwise not have if you just like tossed it right into the sauce and cooked it that way or did something different. Okay, I did not use kasuri menthi. I left that out. That is like an Indian, for anybody who doesn't know, that's kind of like an Indian oregano. And you could use that as like a finisher if it was fresh. Or you can use that a little bit earlier on. I think I mentioned that in the notes for this recipe, because there are a couple of things that I don't use in this recipe that would be in there traditionally. Like you would essentially add it into this traditionally. So like kasuri menthi is one of that, is that oregano. I don't have access to that. So it's not in here. But if you do have it, you can add it. Hing, so asafoetida is also not in this. Mainly because I think that's kind of another, if you don't have like an Indian market near you, it's kind of another thing that's hard to get your hands on. But that's going to go in very small amounts. That's a great thing to add for like a big punch of flavor. It is not something that gets added at the end. It's something that you have to add at the beginning because it takes a while for it to cook, like the bitterness to kind of cook out. But that's like a common ingredient that is not in this dish, or in my version of this dish. And then I think the last thing that I don't have in here, but that you could add, I mentioned it earlier, was the garam masala. I don't have that as an ingredient just because there are so many versions of a garam masala, because it's essentially like a spice blend with specific spices. And even sometimes it's like you could have any of these spices, and this garam masala has these 4 out of like this list of spices. And so, you know, things like cardamom and coriander and cumin and like other kind of like chili spices and things like this, basically warming spices, are in garam masala. And you might not, like, there are all different kinds of blends. And so I just have the individual spices with the exact amount that you need in order to get the flavor, like a consistent flavor But if you wanted to, if you like have a garam masala at home that you really like to use and you want to use it here, you can. But I probably wouldn't add more than like a half a teaspoon. So like maybe like up to like 1.5 grams, 2 grams of it. Otherwise, you're gonna be changing up the flavor of this dish so much that it wouldn't taste the same. Yeah, hing is great to like break through creamy dishes. That's true. Ooh, okay, you can get dried. Okay, leaves on Amazon. Just had to crush it, add a pinch to finish. Yep. Yeah, I haven't found it fresh anywhere. That's cool that you can get it offline though. That's really neat. That'll have to be something that I do, so that I can update and write about it on this recipe. Nice. I'm probably gonna have to clean this pan before I add the rest of this chicken. Oh yeah, sorry about that. There you go. Thank you for your request. Like, that's not cooked. That's cooked. Those are not cooked yet. We're getting there. The chicken looks good by itself. It is good by itself. I'm gonna be very honest. Where's my sous chef? He's right here. Did you want to have some? I did add there's some spice in this one. It's probably at the tippy top of the kids' spice level, but I think that they could do it. Yeah, right? Yeah. Guys, he likes it. He's making the oh, this is delicious face. After this round, I think we are at the end of our stream. I do have one more round of chicken to do, but it's essentially done. Our sauce is done. Our chicken is done. If you are at home and you are cooking with me, hopefully you have some rice going, or you make some rice for it. I do have some naan. Where is it? Where did you stick it in the freezer? Can I have that bag? This is gonna be done now. Just about. This one's done. Thank you. So I will make naan essentially ahead of time, and then I will reheat this in the microwave, or not the microwave, in the oven. I'll just put it on a tray like this guy, in a whatever degree oven. It doesn't really matter as long as it cooks through. You don't want it to bake, you just want it to soften and cook through. If you want to give it like a really good refresh, you can spray it, get like a water bottle and give it a little bit of a light mist with some water, and then put it in the oven, and that will help refresh it even more. It's really something that you would do with like bread that's like a baguette, or like a loaf of bread or something that has like a crust on the outside to kind of refresh that. It's not fully necessary for this. You can literally just toss this in and reheat this. If you have to do it in a microwave, I would suggest looking for a bread setting or a pizza setting or something that does have bread in it, and using that setting little by little. If you don't have a setting on your microwave, you can probably do 10 to 15 second increments. And I would put a wet paper towel over it to kind of steam it, because the microwave is really notorious for overheating and then like making the edges of your bread really, really hard. And we are trying to avoid that. And these are thin. This is a restaurant style naan. You could do a thicker one if you do use the recipe on my website. You could have a thicker version of this if you want to. It's really up to whatever you want. It's an all-purpose flatbread. You can get it to this thickness, which as you can see is pretty thin, or you can have it be thicker. You could also just buy naan. I'm sure I have some store-bought naan somewhere in here. I think it's called Stone Fire. I know fire's in it. I know there's an S and there's a fire. Something, I think that's the brand, is probably one of the most popular brands out there, and it's genuinely very good. If you can put it in the oven and reheat it or stick it on a pan like that and just like heat it up front and back and get it nice and cooked through, it's a really soft and quick option if you don't want to make your own. I would recommend that brand. Yeah, I like restaurant style. I like the thinner naan better than getting the thicker ones. The thicker ones make me feel like I'm supposed to be having a flatbread. So Stonefire's right? Okay, cool. Yeah, they're normally in the deli area at your grocery store. Okay. Okay. I think that is everything. He ate like all the chicken out of this and left the rest for me. That's okay. I'm still excited about the sauce if anything. I'm gonna go. This was a great day. I'm gonna move this chicken over here actually. We're gonna bring this guy back so that we kind of have like a final show and tell here. So essentially we've made our sauce and our chicken opposite because of the camera. Maybe. I'm not very good at this. There we go. So we've got the sauce and the chicken. You've got your lovely pan fried, sauteed, whatever chicken here. And then we have our masala sauce ready to go. And like I said, if you want, you can toss this chicken in here and you can have it coated. You can let it cook in there, simmer in there for 3 to 5 minutes. I wouldn't go any further than that because the chicken, like I said, is already cooked through. And you don't want to cook it so much that it then gets tough. I will say, though, that if you plan on reheating this, you can either keep them separate or you can put them together. It's really great to reheat protein in a liquid because that liquid keeps the moisture in the meat, too. When you're reheating it, right? And it lets it gently come to temperature. So it's a great way to reheat instead of having like an individual piece of chicken that you're trying to reheat by itself and then like all of the moisture kind of like free floats and comes out of it, evaporates out of it. So it's better to reheat things in liquid if you want to retain moisture. But also you could have it separate. If you're going to keep them separate, I would say to use a defrost setting to reheat this instead of just like putting it on for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever and reheating it that way. Just try to gently reheat it. Otherwise it'll like everything gets tough. Be good about reheating your food. Your taste buds and whatever texture receptors you have going on will thank you. That was fun. Thank you for joining. I don't know. Do I do my outro? I guess I'll do my outro now since we've finished. That was Chicken Tikka Masala. Thank you very much for joining me in the A Little Spoon kitchen today. I know that we are live, I guess, right now. I'm sure if you followed along this far, you know that I have been talking off to the side to people. Hopefully we and I have answered all of your questions. If you do have any other questions or comments you'd like to make, you are welcome to add them underneath this video here. Like and subscribe, please. I would love to see you back for any future cook-alongs. We do these once a month. We're trying to do them on the first Sunday of every month. So be on the lookout. You can find me and updates about these cooking streams and other content that I produce on Instagram at alittlespoon. The handle is at _little_spoon. Yes, I did not get to Instagram fast enough, so I have weird characters that space out my words, but you do what you have to do. My website is alittlespoon.com. That's what I started to say earlier. You can find all of these recipes here or there. I do post recipes, full recipes on Instagram as well, so you don't have to bounce back and forth if you don't want to. If you would like to support, supporting just the community in general and my content in general, like, comment, save recipes, do what you will, share them with people. That's going to get a better reach for me. If you would like to put a monetary amount to that, you can support me on my Patreon. We have as low as $1, I think, is the lowest tier. It does go up to $20. You do not get anything extra. It's just the level of support that you want to give. But any monetary support, monetary subscription through Patreon gets you access to a private Discord server where we talk about food. I will help with any issues if you're having some cooking issues. If you're traveling, all of us love to give information on where to go and what to eat. And I have a lot of behind the scenes that get added that are not added on Instagram or on my socials. You get a lot more kind of stuff going on behind the scenes in the Discord server. So if you want to be a part of that community, we are a great group of people. I also do a monthly hangout where we get on and we just kind of chat on Discord with each other for about an hour or so. And that's a lot of fun. See what's going on in everybody's lives, what we're cooking, what we're interested in. I don't think there's anything else. And if there is, it's fine. I've missed it. But I will see you next time. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this meal. I hope that you enjoyed learning and that you enjoyed cooking. And I will see you with the next one. Bye. Okay, cool. Love it. And we're done. So now anybody that's here for just the live, that will be clipped out for the playlist. This is now the live. I am going to keep eating, and I'm going to let my husband clean that pan so that I can finish cooking the chicken. You eat this sauce like soup. I can't say I've never done that. You're welcome for a great stream. Thank you for coming. Is the sun setting in my kitchen? No. Oh, did we have an issue with white balance? Why did the color balance change? Oh no! Right at the end. That's okay. Bye, Bob Joe. You're probably already gone, but bye. If he wants to eat some of this, he can clean. Nah, I'm just kidding. We'll both clean. So like generally, I think this probably takes me about 2.5 hours. Like I know we started at 12:30. It's a 3-hour recording. Yeah. So yeah, so it probably it takes less time, maybe closer to 2 hours, maybe less, even less. This is a really fast thing, especially like if you're doing stuff on different days. So like if I marinate the chicken and I'm letting it marinate for 6 hours, like I'll start it in the morning and then I'll just make everything together at dinner time, and it goes really fast. But yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Any last minute questions before we go? So yeah, the cinnamon stick and the sauce gives it like a hint of cinnamon that like permeates the dish without you actually getting. It's almost like, is there cinnamon in this? Like it's very subtle. And I find that if you're putting like scooping even 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon and putting it in, you can tell there's cinnamon in it. So this way you get like without having to measure out ground cinnamon, you get like a hint of cinnamon in there and a little hint of like extra sweetness without adding any sweetness and without adding a bunch of cinnamon to it.
What am I washing?
Just that. It's probably hot, so just be careful though. Yeah, I know. We've got a lot to wash. We can do it later. We can do it when we end the stream. It's not a big deal.
That?
Yeah, that needs to get washed so I can finish cooking the chicken back there. That's really it. And I just don't want it to sit for too long.
I wish we could give something to chat. It smells and tastes so good. What was the flat pan you cooked on called?
It's a crepe pan.
Crepey.
Mm-hmm. So, oh, it's up there. The reason that it looks thick to you is probably, well, yeah, it sticks. Okay, because it's got an added bottom. So like this is so that it works within an induction cooktop. So it's slightly thicker than like a crepe pan would be because it has a piece of like stainless steel or whatever the hell that will work with the magnets on my induction cooktop.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a crepe pan. I do have this specific one linked in my Amazon storefront. All of my affiliate links and like storefront links and whatever are on my Instagram. If you go to my link in bio, you'll see them there. So you can find my storefront. I don't know. I know that I link those in my newsletter as well. I don't think I have them on my website. Do I? That's something I should know. I'm not good at self-promotion, friends. I try. Let's see. Is it on the bottom of my site? No, it's not.
Exclamation point recipe.
Yeah, I don't have my Amazon storefront. Something that I need to work on is like making sure that I'm putting equipment that I use in a recipe and that I'm linking it in the equipment section so that you can see what I'm using and like click through and it automatically does that instead of making people like go here, go there, click through this link, then it'll take you to that. It's like, what is it? What is the Dane Cook reference? God, it's such an old reference at this point. It's like a 20-year-old reference at this point. You're gonna go around the corner, you're gonna find whatever his name was. He's gonna take you to the Whopper lair. That's what I feel like I'm doing when I tell people to click on my link in bio. A Dane Cook reference. We're old.
Okay, because we'll be here in 20 minutes.
Okay.
30 minutes.
Adding extra sauce. Okay.
We need to, we have a lot to do.
I know that I'm going to need to change the way that I cook in Colorado. And I also know that most people do not live at an altitude that high. And it's going to be really weird writing
We're going to
recipes.
pressurize our basement, okay? We're going to set the relative humidity. We're going to seal all the gaps. It'll be a hyperbolic chamber of sorts. Mm-hmm. And we'll be able to set it to whatever altitude and barometric pressure we want to. No, none of that's true.
That is delicious. Okay. Time to end? Time to end stream?
Time to end stream.
Okay. Bye. We can't end the stream with you here. You gotta push the buttons.
It's true.
That's true.
Oh, Chad, I think I'm gonna delay the stream subathon, the GM-a-thon. I think I'm gonna delay it until after the St. Jude thing. I'm not ready. Not everything's set up yet.
Yeah.
I don't have goals set up. I feel a little overwhelmed with the house.
We did a lot of stuff from the house over the weekend. Like a lot of stuff.
I
think he got too into it and then yeah.
There's just a lot to do and I didn't do a lot of subathon work and now the Ride of 9 is delayed until like May. It makes sense to wait a little bit. So next week can be like a variety week. So But yeah, I'll talk about it on Discord. Get the house ready and then do the GM-a-thon. That'd be nice. It'd be nice to do like a truckload.
Yeah, we at least want to break down some stuff and get some stuff out.
Just to make it feel like there's progress. Like it's obviously
tons of progress.
But
oh my god, my back, I put so much marble rocks down in the back. Like we did 40 feet of white marble chip like rocks, like the garden rocks. And I'm just sitting there like squat down with like these heavy bags. My low back muscles are so sore. Woo, that's bright.
No, you can't see it from there.
And the whole screen gets brighter.
Oh, crap. Left a bag of chips outside.
Were you snacking?
I was snacking on a bag of chips.
Okay.
Right. In the stream. Goodbye,
Okay.
Chad. See you tomorrow. No subathon
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Archie, he was being really hard on himself about it.
There's a lot to do.
I know. Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye, the queso kid. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, Tiago. Bye.